Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the BBC and Pudsey calling. We've had a complaint about the use of the Yorkshire dialect on this particular podcast, which is going to be known from now on as the Home County's rather large War Games podcast. We do apologise for any northernness in previous episodes.
Does he know what he's doing?
Well, my lady Nora of Homeforth, I have given off my northern tribe accent and have spent many a day in Harrogate learning the elocution.
Oh, you dozy beggar.
You're right, Nora, love, I can't keep this up. I do apologise. Bit of a laugh and a joke there about a complaint I received. But I'm afraid the odd use of a Yorkshire word and a bit of a Yorkshire accent on a Yorkshire Gamer podcast made by somebody who lives in Pudsey and has done for 30 years and works in the Yorkshire Dales may occur on occasion. And if that's something that fires off your rockets, then unfortunately my guest tonight is Alex Storm of Steel Sutherland from Rotherham. So that's going to be a little bit more Yorkshire as well, I'm afraid. But that's not what we're about. We want to have a laugh and a joke here, and we're certainly going to do that tonight. This is a Brews in the Binyard Christmas Special. Unfortunately, Sean Clark from God's Own Scale couldn't make it tonight, which is a real shame. Hopefully he's going to be available if I do another one of these in summer. A summer special and a Christmas special. I think that sounds good for Brews in the Binyard. So me and Alex are going to chat about all sorts of stuff. We got a load of questions in, and then the normal thing that you would expect for a Christmas podcast with the highs and lows of 2021 and what we're looking forward to in 2022. It's a long episode. I didn't really want to cut this in two with it being a Christmas episode. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you sat there with your paints and brushes ready to go. Bit of a marathon session. Maybe you're taking part in the Analog Hobbies Winter Paint Challenge. And you're going to sit down, have a giggle, paint some stuff, and hopefully while away the next 2.5-3 hours with a laugh and a giggle with me and Alex. So without further ado, here's interview. And just before that, a couple of messages from our previous guests.
Hi, it's Alex, Storm of Steel, here from episodes 15 and 16 of Yorkshire Gamers Big War Games podcast. I hope everybody has a great Christmas and a very happy New Year, and I hope that Santa shoves something really nice into your stockings and leaves you with a lot of Christmas cheer.
Hello, this is Nick Skinner from Two Fat Lardies, and I was a guest, you may remember, of Ken's back in the Yorkshire Gamers Big War Games podcast, episode 7, if you can remember that long ago. We had a really big discussion about all things wargaming and all things lard, and we were thrilled when Ken was able to bring his game of Itlsu, First World War attack on Kut Al Amara in Mesopotamia, and he brought that to Steel Lard, a lardy games day that was organised so brilliantly by Chris and colleagues in Sheffield. Yes, that's right, the Lardies were in Yorkshire. And we had a really good time. And I hope that you have a really good time this Christmas. And this message comes to bring you festive cheer and to wish you all a really big and very Merry Christmas.
Hello everyone, and welcome to a special Christmas edition of the Reap Big War Games podcast. It's time to sit back and relax and enjoy the festive season, well, as much as you can with the Phobon Plague back in play again. We're back in our binyard, brews in hand, one of those metal bins with holes in it, belting out some proper heat as we burn the packaging off our latest War Games purchases and those little plastic sprues off the front of War Games Illustrated. Throughout the episode, you'll hear lots of individual Christmas messages from our previous guests, so look out for those. But here with me live is the only man who could bear the cold brunt of a Yorkshire evening in a Binyard. The one and only award-winning YouTuber in Alex from Storm of Steel. Welcome back, Alex.
Cheers, Ken. Thank you very much. If it gets any colder, I'll probably have to put my jumper on, I think.
Oh, that could be.
Yeah.
I suppose we're in mid-December, so there's an excuse for that.
Well, I've got the T-shirt on, so that'll do for now, I think. But yeah, if it does get a little, if temperature drops by about 10 degrees, I'll probably go and get my jumper. But I think we'll be all right.
Well, I think in Newcastle they're still on vests, aren't they? They've not gone to T-shirts yet.
Yeah.
Well, sadly, our usual co-conspirator Sean Clark's not been able to make it this evening. So that 2/3 Yorkshire bias no longer has a Potteries balance. So it's full on ferret and flat capped tonight.
That's right.
The last
probably need translation
episode...
for this, I think, won't you, Ken? To be honest.
Sorry.
I think you'll need translation for this for the listeners, but definitely. For sure.
Well, I don't know if I told you, but somebody had a go because I was using a Yorkshire accent too much on the Yorkshire Gamer podcast with somebody from Pudsey who works in the Yorkshire Dales.
Right. Well, let's apologise for that immediately, shall we?
Exactly. Anyone who isn't from Yorkshire, you're going to struggle. I do apologise. But
it's all right. Ken will write out the entire transcript for us before it goes live anyway, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, subtitled version on YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, the reaction from the last episode ranged from "This is brilliant, it's the best thing since meeples and miniatures" to "Who the fuck are these three idiots?" So...
That was me, I think.
Yes, bit of self-promotion. So what's happening in the world of Storm of Steel then, Alex? What's going on for yourself at the moment?
It's all good, to be honest, at the moment, Ken. It's I'm kind of gearing up for a couple of weeks off Christmas. I've got a load of videos backed up, but I'm just going to drop off posting them until New Year, really, because I'm going to be going to Austria to see my wife anyway for a fortnight. But I do nice. I do have a special. Well, fingers crossed, with the current spread of things. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed, touching wood, all the everything that I can actually get there and see my wife for Christmas. So there will be a bit of a break in videos. But next week I'm going to put out my Christmas special. That I recorded the other week as well. So that's the next big thing, really. I've got one more video to come out this week as well. I'll probably put that out Friday, I would say. And then, like I said, I've got the one more next week, an O Group video, because a lot of people have been requesting O Group videos for me, and I played it recently down at the club. I introduced the club to O Group. They enjoyed it, and it kind of reminded me of how good a game it is because I've not played it for a while. So yeah, everything's going okay at the moment. It's all trucking along. My subscriber count keeps going up and up, which is quite nice. It's nice to see. I'll probably be hitting about 7,000 subscribers early next year, I would have thought, if it's going at the same pace that it is at the moment. So yeah, it's good. It's all good. Is a short answer.
Superb. And I've not had a look at O Group myself. It seems to be a popular set. How does that kind of differ to the likes of Chain of Command, the other largest set?
Well, it's battalion level, so but it's abstracted battalion level, so it's not like it's not 1-to-1 figure. So figure ratio is about 1-to-20 maybe. So I don't know if you've ever seen Rapid Fire. It's probably similar in its level to that, really. The amount of figures you have on the board. So you have. I usually make up a company of about 27 figures. So you got three companies. So you're maybe about 100 figures on the table, then all your supporting elements and things. And it's a great game because it's very much in the stable of Lard, in that there's a ton of friction in it. You can't do everything you want to do every turn. You have to roll command dice at the start of the turn, and then you have to issue orders to your units. At the same time, the opposition is reacting to you by issuing their orders. So when you first, the way it works is the first turn or first couple of turns, you feel like you can do quite a lot because you don't have a lot of stuff on the table anyway, because a lot of it's in reserve. So you're issuing these orders and thinking, this is grand, like this is great. And then you start taking fire. So your men start getting suppressed. And then you've got to issue orders to try to rally them. So that starts soaking up orders. Then you've got to react to the enemy when they're firing and things. So that's soaking up orders as well. So as the game goes on, you're doing less and less, but you're making more and more decisions, command decisions. And it's kind of, it almost like hones in on the action, if you know what I mean. It's almost cinematic because you'll be throwing the orders into the place that you want. If you're trying to capture a building or something, you throw your orders into that. And so there's a lot happening in that particular point. And obviously the enemy's reacting to it as well. So it works really well. And I like that command style and I like that command level as well, of an abstraction of units. So where chain of command is one man, in our group, as I say, each figure is like 20 men or something. Your platoon is 9 figures, that kind of thing. So it's slightly different in that way, but equally as fun. And there's quite a few nice little touches in it as well with combat patrols and things, where you can use them as scouts, or you can use them to deploy your reserves and things. And it's just a nice way of getting troops on the table. Really, it's really nice. A really nice system, and once you've played a couple of turns, it really settles in your head as well, because it's very intuitive. It's very clever in the way that the firing is done, and it's very simple and very quick. So you're quickly picking things up, even for new players. I introduced all the people at the club to it, and well, not all of them, but a bunch of them, and within 3 turns. They knew how many dice they were rolling for firing and how many dice they were rolling for moving and that kind of thing,
Yeah,
so it shows.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it mostly infantry based, or could you run a curse type mass tank battle?
Yeah, I mean, there's rules for using armored battalions if you wanted to. You just swap them out. It's that simple. The only thing I would say with that is because firing is done from individual tank to individual tank model. That's the bit that probably slows it down slightly, because each tank has an armor rating, each tank has an AP rating. So you've got to roll to hit, then you've got to roll to penetrate, then you've got to roll to damage. It's 2 rolls, but it's like it's per tank instead of per platoon or per company. So, but even then, it's still pretty simple. It's like a 7 or above on 2d6 to hit, with a +1, -1 if you've moved or if you're close or whatever. So again, these things, they settle into your head pretty quickly. The only thing is the armor penetration. But again, once you've done it once, you kind of know once you know what the armor penetration of your Sherman is against a Panther, you know what you've got to roll in the next time you're rolling it. So it's relatively simple, but I would say probably a little bit slower with an armored battalion. But you could certainly do it, and it does. There are rules in there for it. But yeah, it's based around an infantry battalion.
Oh, we love a table full of tanks here. You see, that's the thing.
Well, me too. I mean, I used to play it. We played a lot of rapid fire with tons of tanks and things, and I'll try it out with our group for sure, for definite one day.
Yeah, be interesting to see how that comes along. We've got loads of questions to cover in an Ask Our Nora feature later on. But before that, we'll just have a very quick break and we'll listen to some Christmas messages from previous guests.
Hello, everybody. Chris Breeze, aka Winston Abreese, from episodes 1 and 13 of Yorkshire Gamers Big War Games podcast here. Merry Christmas, everyone, and have a really happy New Year. Enjoy the festive period. And remember, everyone, if your extended family start to annoy you, just ignore them, have another drink, and go and paint some figures.
Hi, this is David Marshall of TM Terrain from episode 12 of Yorkshire Gamers Big War Games podcast. Just to say happy Christmas to everyone, and let's hope we get to meet up a few times over next year at some shows and events. I can't wait. Oh, and by the way, I still think avocados are better than mushy peas, but that's for another day. Happy Christmas, everyone. Bye.
Well, Merry Christmas to everyone else as well. So let's have a look back at what has been a strange year, 2021. So what would you say was your top moment of the year, Alex? What was the thing that stands out for you?
That's a pretty tough question, that, actually. In the
Do you
war
want me
game,
to go first?
Yeah, you go first. Give me let me just have a little think about it.
Yeah, I've got to say, I've got to say for me, coming out of lockdown and going to Partisan was the big thing for me. I know we missed each other at Partisan, but I did bump into loads of people who I'd spoken to on here and had not met in person. And then I bumped into a load of friends as well who for COVID reasons I hadn't seen for 12, 14 months, etc. And it was just, I think there was a really nice feeling about that show. A lot of people, as I say, meeting up for the first time in a long time. And I think it took me 2.5 hours to do one circuit of the of the hall at one point, bumping into various folk. And if I sat down to have a brew, the table filled up with people very quickly. So I think that for me, that was, because I've not done a massive amount of gaming this year. I think probably for me, that was my number one moment of the year.
When you asked me, actually, I think that was the thing that I went to as well. Actually, thinking about Partisan was probably the of the game shows that I've been to. No offense, because I know you were involved with Fiasco, but Partisan was by far the better. I've only been to 3 actually. I think so I've been to Partisan, Fiasco, and Recon this year. And unfortunately, they also descended in that order as well. Partisan was the best, then Fiasco second best, and then Recon the third best. I don't want to say worst, but it was still good because at least people are putting effort in. But I think just that fact of being able to get out and about, and I think I don't really want to copy your answer because it just sounds like all I was doing waiting for you to say something. I could go, yes, I agree. But also just being able to go down to the club as well. Because that's something I'd started to do just before COVID hit. And then I had to give it up, for literally over a year. And then now I've been able to go back down on a Thursday night regularly. It's just a nice thing, really. It's just a nice way to get out and just do some gaming. But yeah, I mean, Partisan was really well attended. There were so many games there. And it was just, what I thought, I don't know if you agree with this, but it felt as though everybody had suddenly come out of lockdown with their lockdown projects and were desperate to show them off. And there were so many lovely tables, so many figures and things. And I filmed it for a video. And I went to Salute as well. Yes, of course, that's the other one I went to. And I filmed it for a video. And I don't think I got every single table because there was still a bunch in the middle that I completely missed. Because I was just, taking my time going around the other ones as well. Like you say, it took a while to go around talking to people and things. And it was, it just looked great. There were just so many great tables on display. And that, to see all that people have put all the effort in as well as part of it, I thought was really good. And I know
the standard at Partisan was unbelievable, wasn't it? There was so many. Very much so.
It always is, though. Anyway, it's a great show for that, anyway, isn't it? It's for eye candy, it's really, really good. The ones I've been to in the past. I mean, if anybody can get up to it, then it's definitely worth it. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I went to Fiasco and Salute, and I also went to Recon as well.
I couldn't make it to Recon, and Recon is actually 10 minutes walk from my house.
If I'd have known, I'd come around for a brew.
Well, unfortunately, I was at work, so I'm sure the missus would have put kettle on for you. But it was a real shame I couldn't make it down because it's a nice little local show, is Recon, and it's not massively well attended, but it's quite a friendly show, and we've traditionally from Leeds War Games Club always tried to put something on there and support it. And I was going to take the game that I put on at Fiasco, but unfortunately work intervened, and I just couldn't get there.
I think he was suffering a bit from just people being a bit I don't know, worried maybe about going to shows, especially. I mean, we're still in the middle of a pandemic, so it's not gone anywhere. And there was quite a few empty tables I noticed, and I'd been in 2019, and it was a lot fuller in 2019 of tables and people. Even like upstairs, the little mezzanine upstairs was much fuller the first time I went a couple of years ago, pre-COVID. And the same with Salute as well, because I went down specifically to film it for the channel, so I kind of did it as a bit of a an expenses thing. And I met up with Ian Fuller down there, and he was telling me that I think if I remember correctly, it was something like 30 traders had dropped out and 40 demonstration games had dropped out, and some of those in the week preceding it. And you could tell, I mean, it was, again, I've been to Salute in 2019, and it was absolutely rammed when I went. And this time it just felt a lot thinner in the crowd, and also just the things that were on display. That's not to say that the stuff that was on display wasn't good, it was, but you could just tell there was hesitancy. And I don't know if I read this somewhere or someone told me that normally Salute gets about 10,000 people, and I think they had something like 4,000 through the door this year.
Yeah, that's a big.
I could be wrong on that, but Salute,
interesting.
4,000 is a lot of people, isn't it? But if like Pudsey, if say they get 200, but they only get 100 through the door, that's a massive difference, isn't it? Because it's such a small show. It has more.
It's interesting. It's interesting how that flipped though, because Partisan was packed, wasn't it? If you remember, it was absolutely rammed, and we were queuing around the car park for ages to get in. And then from my own knowledge from working Fiasco and being involved in the club, it was one of the best years in a number of years for people through the door.
Oh, really?
And there'd been a conscious decision by the club to reduce the number of games that were there and reduce the number of traders that were there, so that people were more spread out. But there wasn't any cancellations. And then you go to Salute, and I didn't go, but I saw the videos and stuff, and lots of empty tables. And then people I know who had been to Recon, like yourself, said numbers were down as well.
I don't know. Yeah, I think with Salute, the thing was as well with the XL centre, we're asking for either COVID certification that you'd been vaccinated, or that you'd had a PCR test that was negative in the last 24 hours or whatever, like before you went in. And they were asking at the door. So I wonder if that might have had a play of it as well for some people not wanting to go for that reason, or I don't know. I don't want to go off on any tangents here, but I think there's probably some people that probably just don't want to face up to that for whatever reason. So I think that might have come into it. But yeah, I mean, Fiasco. I know I spoke to you earlier when we were talking, and you were saying then that you'd purposely thinned out the numbers of tables, but that didn't. There weren't as many tables as there normally is, but because the tables that were there were full, for me, it didn't feel like it had an impact so much. Whereas at Salute, there were tables laid out that were empty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it felt like if you could see the emptiness in it almost.
Yeah, well, there were some big traders that just didn't turn up, wasn't there? Or cancelled very late.
Yeah.
Once you've already put a 20 or 30 foot stand out ready for them to turn up and they don't, I suppose you can't tidy it away and reorganise.
Well, I know that the next Salute is going to be in April, so it's not going to be like a year away. It's going to be quite early in the year. So fingers crossed, we'll be out of the COVID Christmas rush, and things might be, fingers crossed again, touch wood, things might be back to normal a little bit if people have had their vaccinations and boosters and everything. We might be. I'll probably go down again depending on dates. Obviously, if I can get down there, I'll go down again, because the videos of game shows always do well in numbers from my, from a purely mercenary point of view on my part, and it's not really a a difficult thing to do to pop down to London for the day, is it? Really?
No, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's that London and stuff. I don't like it much down there. But, you try and stay away as much as you can. But once or twice a year, I think I can cope with that.
Well, you can get a vaccination for going to London, can't you? You
can,
yeah.
Yeah.
You can have a London booster and go down to London, and you're all right for 24 hours, and then come back.
Oh yeah, I mean, I had all my travel papers and everything checked and stuff by the mayor before I left, and I made sure not to shake everybody's hand when I got on the Underground Railway as well, because
they don't say hello to everyone.
That's it. Yeah, they just don't like it. Don't look them in the eye or anything like that. So I'd had my prep from the mayor, so we were fine before I went. And then the whole town came out and they all saw me off on the train and everything. It was lovely.
Oh. Did you have really like a marching band and flags and everything?
They did, yeah. It was great. Proper brass band, playing it up as I steamed away into the distance. Yeah.
They did that here apparently for a guy who went off to fight in the Boer War in the early 20th century. All the town turned out, marching band, everything, and he walked down the road in his khakis and everything, and then he got shot about 2 days after he got there, poor lad. So there we go.
They're probably all sitting around him afterwards going, that was a waste of time, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then every year here in Pudsey we have the big march with that bloody stupid bear from Children in Need that I ate. But unfortunately, he never gets shot 2 days later. So you have to live in Pudsey to hate that bear.
We can't say that. You can't talk about shooting a bear that feeds starving children or whatever it is that they do.
You can when you live here, because you talk to people from anywhere in the country and you go, oh, where are you from? And they'll go, oh, Winchester. And I go, oh, that sounds lovely. That. Where are you from? I'm from Pudsey. Oh, as in Pudsey Bear? And then I just tell them to do one.
Yeah, I bet the people in Winchester don't get, oh, the rifle, Winchester rifle, do they all the time? Yeah, of course they do.
Is that where them Russian lads went with the 136-metre spire?
No, it was Salisbury, wasn't it?
That was Salisbury, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope I haven't given the Russian intelligence service an idea for a mission.
Easy. Yeah, this has probably been beamed across to the Kremlin right now.
The big fans, Mr. Putin regularly sends messages. He says, carry on with that Yorkshire accent, Ken. We love it here in Moscow, and don't listen to them people on the internet who say you shouldn't talk in a Yorkshire accent. Thank you, Vladimir. Please don't invade Ukraine on the weekend. It'll spoil my Christmas. Anyway, we've digressed slightly.
Well, it wouldn't be the Yorkshire Gamers podcast, would it, if it didn't digress? That's what people tune in for, I would have thought.
Yeah. Who's he going to upset this week?
Yeah, you'll probably get loads of Russian bots commenting on your on the next episode.
Oh, I never thought of that, did I? That's probably why we got so many hits with the Brews in the Binyard episode, because I mentioned ISIS, didn't I, for that black flag that Sean had in his clubhouse.
That's right.
So we've got MI5 tuning in now because I've mentioned ISIS and Vladimir Putin. I've mentioned them, so we'll have the Russian Secret Service. I don't even know what they're called anymore. They used to. What was it, NKVD? Was it? I can't remember.
It was the NKVD, but that was the Second World War. That's going back, and then it became the. Oh God! Now you throw me off completely. Yeah, NKVD was Second War. It'll come to. Oh God! I should know this. It's GRU now, anyway. Now it's the GRU, but yeah. KGB.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to KGB. Yorkshire Gamers, a really big communist secret police podcast.
Well, we try to remember the acronyms of various Soviet secret services.
Oh dear!
Join us in this thrilling episode.
Yeah. So trying to get back somewhere on track. And you definitely can't copy my answer on this one. What was your best personal project this year? What was the favourite thing that you've done, figures or period or something new?
God, again, another tough one. Italian Wars in 28mm.
Did you do that?
No, I didn't. I'm just trying to copy you. Um, that's a difficult one because I don't really, I never really have a project in mind. But I suppose I was going to make 2021 my Napoleonic 15mm Napoleonic year. So I've been working my way through a lot of sharp practice stuff. It's been years and years since I was like a teenager that I've had any 15mm Napoleonic stuff. So I've just never been able to face it. So it was something new that I started earlier last year, and then I've kind of pushed it on a bit. And I know, for you, a big game is certainly not sharp practice, but I think I've currently got around about 100 French painted up and about the same British as well, and then about maybe 40 or 50 Prussians as well. So I've done about 250 figures over the year. But that's not, it's not just been the only thing I've been working on. So I suppose that's the thing I've been pushing most. But like I said, I never really, although that's the closest I've got to a, in inverted commas, a project. I think it's just it's a thing that's been rumbling on throughout the year. One of the best things I think that I was involved with was the Terrain-Tober project, which we mentioned on the last.
I thought that was MDF September.
It was meant to be MDF September or MDF September, but yeah, it got changed because I was away for September, so I couldn't do anything. But yeah, the video is out now. I can't remember if the video was out before when we were talking last. But if people want to check it out, what we did, I'll just give you a brief précis of it. Is on Twitter we had the Terrain-Tober hashtag. John from Wise Wolf Paints and Richard Naylor were involved in the formulation of it, so I've got to give a shout out to them. And basically, all I said was make a piece of terrain over at least one piece of terrain over October, and I'll make a video about it. And so what I did, I just basically made like a load of gardens and scatter terrain and things like that, stuff that you don't normally make, but it kind of pushed me throughout October just to make things, to add to the terrain. So that was really good. And then I collated all the photographs that everybody had hashtagged with Terrain-Tober, put them together into a video. Now it turns out there was something like over 90 people got involved.
Wow.
And it did at least one bit of terrain. Some people went above and beyond, like made loads of it. Like Per of Roller One, he wrote a blog for every day in October about Terrain-Tober with a new piece of terrain in his blog. Unbelievable, but Per's the kind of man that does like a challenge, I think. Yeah. And so I put this video together. I think I counted up, there's over 700 photographs, individual photographs of terrain that people had made. So I put that, splashed them all together. Because the video, I didn't want the video to be too long. I gave every single photograph 3 seconds on the video.
Wow, that's quick.
It is, but then there were some people that got 20 photos, so they got quite a long time. But I thought what I'm going to do is I'm going to give everybody exactly the same amount per photo that they've entered into it. But the thing is, because it's a video, you can just pause it. You just hit spacebar, or you just hit pause or whatever. So you can just pause it anyway. And then I also put a timestamp in as well for everybody's name and where they came up on the video. So again, you can just, it's like an index. You can just find yourself, or you find somebody particular things. But what I underestimated was a vast amount of work that it took to make this video. Because like I said, there was 700 pictures and then there was 90 people. So I wanted to name everybody as well, give them their Twitter handle as well in the description. So I had to go through, I worked for about, it must have been about a full week, I think, of just downloading photographs from Twitter that people have put on and trying to find them, and then separating them all out into the individual people, then finding all their Twitter handles and making sure that they all worked, uploading into the video, and then adding all the other bits and pieces you need to add to a video, like names and things, and then adding all the description and stuff. And it just went on and on. It took about 3 weeks to actually put this video together. So there's not a chance in hell that I'm doing it next year.
Did you think about dropping some subliminal messages in with those short? You can, if it's only 3 seconds, you could have had like a quick flash of vote Storm of Steel in Season Awards or something like that.
I could have done, couldn't I? I didn't think about it. I was too fixated on getting the bloody video finished, I think, rather than messing about with it.
That was big in the 80s, wasn't it? Subliminal message.
Yeah, it was. It was a big thing, wasn't it? And it was one of those things that self-perpetuated itself, wasn't it? People started talking about it, so then people started doing it. And it like, you know, something came true because somebody started doing it. But yeah, I think if I was going to do it again next year, and I possibly will, I'd do a video again, but I'd probably have a little bit of a stricter, you know, entry level that you can only post your photographs on a particular day, and then you know, it's going to have to be a finished item rather than work in progress. But some of them, like, because they were work in progress, so I wanted to show, you know, the photos of them going from a pile of MDF to a finished building or whatever, you know. Like I said, people really got into it and did a lot of good work in it, and it's really inspirational. Just look at the video again, just to see what everybody was up to. It's kind of like a bit of a time capsule as well, I suppose. You know what we
it'll be good to go back to in a couple of years' time and have a look at that. And, I take it Joe the Wargamer was involved. What
he certainly was. Yeah, one of the reasons the video took so long is because he asked me if he could take some really nice photos of the stuff that he'd done. So I thought, I can't say no, can I really? I mean, this is a terrain king, you know what I mean? It's like, that'd be like turning down Michelangelo if you're doing a painting contest or something, isn't it? You know, so I said, yeah, I'll hang on for you. And he got some photos for me, and so they weren't actually hashtagged on Twitter. So there's a bit of an exclusive Joe the Wargamer terrain in there as well that you wouldn't have seen on Terraintober. There you go. So that makes people should make people go and watch the video. Nothing else.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I suppose for me it would be the 28mm Roman Legion that I did right back at the start of the year. It's still not been gamed with at all. It was a bit of a what do they call them when you do a project just for yourself? I can't remember.
Passion project.
Passion projects or something like that. Yeah. So it's been sat in a box ever since, but I've never painted so much white in all my life because I decided to do like linen white tunics and white shields, and I've never got through. I didn't even use half a bottle of white Vallejo. So
really,
there you go. Shove your wet pallets and saving your paint.
You should have done what I did and did them with the Asterix Romans with green tunics with white and black trim. That's what I did when I did my infamy ones. They're all the Asterix. And that was my historical research, rereading Asterix.
So on to new War Games releases and new War Games stuff. And I suppose for me, this is not something I'm going to game or going to play, but the Epic Warlord stuff I think is probably the biggest new thing this year, isn't it?
It's the Waterloo box set I think is set to come out at the end of January, because I've got I know they're taking pre-orders at the moment. I've actually asked Warlord if they'd want to send me any sprues or anything for a review on the channel. They said they would, because I've got a trader account with Warlord which I occasionally use, and I'm not particularly interested in either black powder or even the Warlord thing itself, but I think it's just been nice to show people what they are, because there is a lot of excitement about it. I'm up to my neck in 18mm Waterloo, so I'm not going to go 13.5mm either. So I think that is going to be the big thing, isn't it? But it's the end. I'm surprised they didn't bring it out just before Christmas, to be honest, but I'm guessing it's production delays or whatever in their schedules that's made it come out towards the end of January. But I would have thought, but I know they're taking pre-orders. So I would assume they'll probably take a lot of Christmas pre-orders as well for it.
Well, there's no coincidence, obviously, but the Epic ACW came out just after this podcast started. So I'm not claiming that it's my fault, but there's got to be a link.
It is your fault. Of course, there's a link. Yeah.
Warlord Games were all sat around. They heard a new podcast and went, you know what? That's a bloody good idea. Like, let's get some big game stuff out.
Well, the big alarm went off. The Yorkshire Gamer alarm went off in Warlord. The big red flashing siren. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Quick, hit the button. Get the thing out.
Like the time when it went off when they nicked one of my photographs and used it without asking me.
Is that right? What was that for?
That was it was a Mark 6 light tank in counter scheme. I'd put some photographs up on my blog of painting it and stuff, and then I got an promo email from Warlord, and it was a picture of the tank.
You're like, I recognise that.
I thought, bloody hell! Someone's done a really good copy of my. Actually, it's mine. So fair play to them. They did apologise, and it was somebody new to the promo team who'd seen it, and they put a nice write up and they included my details and everything, but they just didn't ask me. Which is kind of
nice. It's just nice to be approached, isn't it, beforehand? Sometimes. Yeah.
So,
rather than just get a surprise.
I don't hold a grudge against them or anything, honestly.
Yeah, speaking of things like that, weirdly, I saw on the on Peter Pig they've just put out their new 15mm online magazine for their games and things, and there was a report of Salute, and I was looking through it, and there was photos of Pear's Poltava game, his 6mm game. In the background, there's me interviewing Pear. You know, to see. So whoever it was taking photos at exactly the same time I was standing there. It's just weird, like to see yourself just pop up in a photograph. You know, when you're doing something weird like that.
Well, so that's something slightly similar happened to me a few years ago. Somebody was banging on about big games and people having the back to the crowd and not talking to people and not engaging with the audience. And they showed a picture of our Jutland game that we put on at Derby. And of course, I was in that photograph. And guess what I was doing? I was talking to a member of the public. So it was like, you're a bit wide of the mark there. Bit wide of the mark.
Yeah, literally doing the thing that you're complaining against. Literally not doing the thing you're complaining against.
Yeah, brilliant. Some strange people out there, but there we go. So, just to round this bit off, then, what would be the favourite game that you've played if you could pick one out? One that you've done
this year, 2019.
Yeah.
Or 2021, God knows. 2 years out.
Alex, we're 2 years late, mate.
Yeah. The favourite game? I don't know. I think maybe actually introducing the club to, or some of the guys at the club to Chain of Command. I'm stuck in my ways. I like what I like, and I don't like new things. You know,
that sounds right. That does.
You know what I mean? If I like something, I like it. If I don't, I don't. And yeah, what I've done this year is, because I've been going out the club a lot more, I've taken Chain of Command down, and I've tried to get as many people to play it as possible because I like playing it and I want people to play it against me. So it's completely selfish on my part. It's got nothing to do with other people's enjoyment. It's about whether I want to play it. But yeah, just introducing people to games like that, really, and just umpiring them. I think they're the enjoyable parts of it. No matter what the game is, as long as somebody's enjoying it. So it's a bit of a woolly answer, because I really enjoyed the O group game as well that we played again at the club, and just the fact that people were getting into it and enjoying it and showing them a new system and things as well. Even though I got all the rules wrong, of course. That kind of thing. They're some of my favourite kind of games. So it's nothing for me. Well, O Group is quite new and shiny, I guess, isn't it? But nothing else is particularly shiny and new.
Yeah,
I've just enjoyed introducing new people to games that I like a lot. I think that's the That's been a highlight. One of the other highlights, of course, was playing your game at Steel Lard.
Ah, very good, very good. I was going to say for myself that was my favourite game.
No, you're copying me. You can't say that. This is not how it works.
Yeah. Well, because I'd gone along and
well, you tell people about it. It was your game. You tell them about it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Because I wasn't really sure how it would go down. That was that because Lardy days are very much an experience where people maybe play 2, 3, or 4 games in a day and flit around from table to table. So I wasn't sure how the big game would go down and how people would enjoy being part of that sort of a game. But it went down really well and everyone really enjoyed it. And the rules are quite straightforward anyway. So everyone kind of picked them up quite quickly. And it was just a really enjoyable day. And I kind of game with the same people all the time. So it was nice to meet new people and game with different people as well. And obviously meet up with the whole Lardy crowd. It was just a really, really good day.
Have you been to any Lardy events before?
No. It's kind of been something years and years ago. I would go and do a game every year and do a big game every year and put it on somewhere. And we'd go to the old Sheffield Octagon and we'd go down to Reading. We'd go all around the country. And it kind of got to be a bit of a grind.
Yeah.
I stopped doing show games maybe 10 or 15 years ago. So this was 2021 was my first back into war game shows and events.
Okay.
I mean, Lardy days weren't going 10, 15 years ago, I suppose. So it was my first dipping the toe in the water of that sort of thing for a long time. And I really enjoyed it again.
Yeah, funny. Again, like most of my other stories, 2019 was the last time I did anything. And I went to the Steel Lard, the first one that Tom Davis had put together. I don't know if you saw Tom. He was there at it. He was wearing a pirate hat in the afternoon, so you probably at least noticed him if you didn't talk to him.
In fact, I think I was talking to his parrot. I missed him.
He'd probably get more sense out of his parrot. He put the first one on, and I can't remember how. I think he just got in touch with me through Twitter and just said, "Are you interested in coming along?" I said, "Yeah, sure," because I was going to film it and things, and that was the first time I'd had Lardy games. I've got Lardy rules and things, but it was the first time that I probably actually sat down and played it with people who know what they're doing. And that's a good thing about them, is that you're playing a game with people who know how to play the rules. So the nuances that are in Too Fat Lardy games, they come more apparent when you're playing it with, like, if you're two people who've never played any Too Fat Lardy games before, you sit down and try to play the rules, probably a lot of it is probably going to get lost on you. Because there's a lot of subtlety in, especially in some of the newer rules like sharp practice and chain of command and even things like water tanker and stuff like that. And it's stuff that you would miss, I think, if you're playing it for the first time. But if you're playing it with somebody who is umpiring and saying, right, you've got these cards, so you can do this, or you can do this, or you could do this. It's helping you work the game out a lot better, I think, and it kind of pushed me over the edge. And I think that's what they're designed to do, isn't it? At the end of the day, they're adverts for the Lardy games, and fair enough. You know what I mean? They're a business. They they want to make their money, but it also means that you'll probably end up like I've done, going out and buying pretty much every single set of their rules that they've ever produced off the back of it, and then thinking, actually, I don't particularly want to play any other games. I could like these. I'm completely convert to Lard. But stuff like If the Lord Spare Us, I would have probably never played that until I played it at Steel Lard with you, and I thought, what a good game this is, and it's a Lardy game that isn't a skirmish game, that is still a Lardy game that works at a large level. So that evening, I bought a copy of it, and completely off playing your version of it, so it works, you know what I mean? They put these things on and then they make sales off the back of it because you enjoy playing those games so much. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, I don't think. And I think it's just, and also it's not the Lardy games. I'm like, this is kind of an advert for Lardy games now, isn't it? Lardy games days. They're not like a normal convention because you go there, like you say, you specifically play games, and you can, if you wanted to, play like 4 games in a day. Most people probably play 2, maybe 3 at the most. I mean, I played yours in the morning, then I ran 2 in the afternoon, and some people will do shorter games, some people will do longer games. Yours was all the way through the day, wasn't it? And yeah, you're there. You're not there to go because Richard doesn't even take any stock up with them or anything like that. That surprises me, to be honest, because they probably sell most loads of stuff. They probably end up getting a lot of sales off the back of these things. It doesn't feel like it's a commercial. It's been pushed on you from a commercial point of view. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you walk in, there's a rack of rules there. You can buy some right now kind of thing. You do it off your own back afterwards after having enjoyed the day and the games.
There's no sales pressure, is there? They're not coming up behind you. Rich doesn't come up behind you with a deep pocketed suit open it up and go, "You want to buy some of these, mate? You want to buy some of these?"
Yeah, exactly that. It is. It's just you just go, you play the games, you have a social. If you're not too tired like I was, you go and have a curry at night. There's obviously lashings of cooking lager going on, and yeah, they're just good fun. And I think they've been the highlights. I mean, I went to Warlord up in York, and then I went to Steel Lard as well. And I'd like to go to more of them, next year when they come up. But the thing is, they get filled up very quickly because they've only got a certain amount of space and a certain amount of games. Again, it's not like a convention or a show, is it, where you just turn up and walk around? You're there, you have a space at a table to play a game.
I didn't quite realise how close Warlord was to me because it's in between York and Harrogate, isn't it?
It is. It's up in Kirkhamerton, Greenhamerton.
One of the Hamertons. It's only half an hour away from me. I didn't quite realise where.
Yeah, it's exactly an hour away from me up the A1. So it's not so much of a trial to get there.
Well, I think we've killed 2021, so we'll have a short break. And then we'll talk about 2022.
Hello, girls and boys. It's John Lander from episode 10 of Yarkshire Gamers Reet Big War Games podcast, and owner of a particularly crappy cold at the moment, so please excuse my blues singer in a smoky club vibe. Just to wish you all a very, very happy Saturnalia and Samhain, as it's close enough. May all your gaming tables equal the area of the Isle of Man, and all your figures be delivered in £10 bags.
Hi, it's Jason Weiser of Military Miniature Magazine from episode 17 of the Yarkshire Gamers Reet Big War Gamers podcast. Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah to all of you. Best wishes we all get more gaming in for the new year. Listen to the Yarkshire Gamers podcast and subscribe to Military Miniature Magazine. Thank you. Have a good holiday, everyone.
Oh, some lovely more Christmas messages there from previous guests. And having destroyed 2021 and got a following from Mr. Putin's secret police and MI5, we're going to talk, look ahead now, if we can, to 2022. Obviously, things are hotting up on the COVID front again, so let's hope that doesn't impact us too much. But have you got any big projects or anything planned for the new year? Anything new?
Again, to go back to my previous answer, is I don't really sit down and go, right, I'm having a project of this. This is this is what I'm going to do. I do whatever I'm interested in. So I'll probably continue. Well, I know I'm going to be continuing with the sharp practice stuff because I'll just be adding bits and pieces to the figures as the forces grow. Like more cavalry and more artillery and things like that. So there's stuff like that. I just today actually I got in the post. Speaking of Too Fat Lardies, is the Algernon pulls it off extra supplement for Bag the Hun. It's the First World War one. And my real love is First World War aircraft. I absolutely love them. I love Wings of War and Wings of Glory. But this is a crunchier version of that done on a hex mat. And I've got the hex mat, so I just need some aeroplanes now. So I think that might be an early 2022 project, is to get some First World War aircraft. The problem is I used to have hundreds of 1/300 scale First War aircraft, and I sold them all when I was a nipper, and no idea where they've gone to. So I'm going to have to buy them back. But I know Skytrek still do them at this point, and I think they're okay. I don't think they're amazing, but I think they're quite nice little planes. Maybe
there's a couple of manufacturers. Doesn't the people they do Navwar? Do they do them as well? And they're a little bit more detail with them and have individual struts and stuff like that with them.
I think they do, but I don't want to overcomplicate it because they're so small and they're going to be plain pieces. You want them a little bit more robust, don't you? That's the thing. It's that difference between delicacy and robustness, especially with First World War aircraft, because that top wing is always going to be coming off, isn't it? That's the problem. But I don't. You never know. I might be able to find some in 3D printed ones or something like that. There's probably somebody who's done some STL files. I'm fairly sure. Paint and Glue have done some STL files for 1/4 scale aircraft, so I'm fairly certain they could probably be resized. I could always have a chat to them and see if they could knock some together for me, because I've got some of their BE2Cs in 1/4 scale, so I could if they work in 1/300, then I'd probably rather get them 3D printed, because then you don't even have to build them, do you? You just have to paint them.
Yeah, there's some amazing 3D stuff out there if you search for it.
And it's just getting better and better, isn't it?
Yeah, I've with my 15mm Arab Israeli stuff. There's certain tanks that I want with the Israeli reactive armor that you can't get from Battlefront and Team Yankee, and you just go type in Magac 6 15mm and just loads of stuff comes up. Thankfully, my mate Andy does a bit of printing, so I just ask him to do stuff. I don't think you've dabbled yet, have you? Have you, mate? You've not got a printer?
No. My what they call is my 3D Mini or something they call. There's a website that hosts STL files, and they got in touch with me earlier this year and said, "Do you want a printer?" I was like, "Yeah." But, there's a pub shit in the woods, yeah. But I'm still waiting for it, and I contacted Steve of My Mini Factory, I think they're called, and he said they were waiting for some new ones to send out to me, because basically he said, there's no pressure, but if you want to make a video about how you use these things, that would be great. And it's it's a bit of an advertisement for them. And I thought, well, yeah, of course I could do my adventures in 3D printing kind of thing, just showing the pitfalls of it and stuff. So if I end up with a 3D printer, and I don't even know what type it is or anything, but they've sent me some resin, so I've got a bottle of resin upstairs. I just haven't got the printer to print it. But yeah, if that happens, I mean, I could probably search out some STL files, I'm fairly certain, and resize them down to 1/300th. But I know it's a hobby in itself, isn't it, 3D printing? And one of the lads at the club has got one. Paul, he's currently printing out the Prussian Army in 6mm for me at the moment. So I can put it together for Blucher. So that's another massive project that will occur, but that's probably going to take a couple of years, I would have thought, because it's so big. But yeah, if I do get a 3D printer, I'll certainly be looking into maybe doing something for Algernon Pulls It Off, or maybe even for Bag the Hun for some 1/300th scale planes as well.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there for me with 3D printing. It's another hobby within itself, and I'm blessed through having worked hard all my life that I'm relatively okay financially, and I'm not at that point where it's I'd rather just send off some money to somebody else to make minis for me. I can see a massive advantage if you're short on brass and you want to do something a bit cheaper. There's people who do loads and loads of terrain on it for next to nothing.
Terrain is one of the big things, I think, isn't it? But it certainly seems to have gripped the wargaming hobby massively, and it is the future, definitely, for sure. I don't. There's no point kicking against it, I don't think. And as you say, you can find the weirdest vehicles or nations or whatever that it wouldn't make any financial sense for a wargaming company to make because they'd sell so few of them. But then when you're creating an STL file, you only have to make one of them, don't you? And then you just download it and print those off as many as you want. So it makes a lot more sense for a sculptor to make all these weird and wonderful vehicles to fill in the gaps, and it works perfectly well for that, I think, as much as anything else. Like you say, you can get your Panzer IVs from Plastic Soldier Company or from Battlefronts, but then you get your weird conversion Panzer IV, your tank recovery Panzer IV from a 3D printed file, because why would Plastic Soldier Company make those?
Yeah. The Yorkshire Gamer time lag is approximately 7 years with most things. So when
7 years.
When blogging started, and I'm not doing that bloody rubbish. I'm not doing that bloody witchcraft. 7 years later, Yorkshire Gamer blog starts. YouTube, that got big. I'm not doing that. I'm not talking on camera. I'm not doing that. 7 years later, podcasts. What's that rubbish? We're just talking about wargaming. It's rubbish. What are they doing? 7 years later. So this is now out or will be out on the internet and on the YouTube with me going, I'm never going to get a 3D printer. So 2028.
There you are, printing everything off.
And I'll be
96 man
raving on about it. Yeah, going, why didn't I get one of these ages ago?
Yeah. He'll have an entire blog. Well, it'll be something else, won't it? By then, it'll be like 3D cinema or something, won't it? It won't even be YouTube anymore at that point. In 8 years, and you'll be on that saying, "Oh, I wish I got one of these 8 years ago."
It'll be interesting to see how and where it goes, because I remember 25, 30 years ago, people talking about there'll be the great day when you have computer generated figures and they play on a computer generated table, and then nobody will bother with figure wargaming. And of course, with things like Rome Total War and that sort of stuff, that thing's already here. The lore of the miniatures and the physical contact with them has kind of kept it in vogue, hasn't it? It's never made a big dent, I don't think. It's probably just an additional part of the hobby rather than people changing over to it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, going to any Games Workshop shop on the high street and the people in there, they're kids. They're like 20-year-olds, and they're still playing with tabletop miniatures.
Yeah.
There's always this thing about the grain of the hobby and it's dying out and stuff. And I did a video about it because Little Wars did their video about it, and they asked a few people, and I don't think it's ever going to die out, because you're always going to get young people coming through wanting to do this stuff and play with toy soldiers. I don't think it going to the shows and things, as we mentioned before, even with COVID, like Partisan was just absolutely rammed. And it wasn't just, old grey fellas, it was youngsters as well,
Yeah.
And more, like even the salutes and things, I noticed this, more and more young women are attending these shows. and I'd say young women. I mean, in their 20s. I mean, they're young to me, but this is really nice and refreshing to see that the demographic is also changing as well. In favour of the hobby, I think, and that's a good thing. All right, a lot of them are getting their entry points through Warhammer, but when they attend the big shows like Salute and stuff, or even small shows, they're seeing something different, and I think that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So I kind of lost thread of what I was saying there. Really,
well, I was just going to say on the back of that every year I do the Analog Hobbies Winter Paint Challenge.
Yeah,
which is just about to kick off in 5 days. So I should be downstairs priming figures rather than talking on the internet. But that, for the first time, there's Tamsin Piper, who Wargaming Girl is her blog. She's always been part of it. But there are, I think there's 3 or 4 female entrants this time. And so one of them's not painted before, so that's going to be great. Seeing them getting involved, and people have been running like starter tutorials for new people coming in, and getting other people involved. So it's great to see, and I'm looking forward to the challenge this year. And I think I mentioned in our last meeting my 28mm Risorgimento. Garibaldi versus the Papal Forces. It's all sat. It's covering about half the table at the moment, all primed and ready to go. Because obviously, I'm going skirmish.
Yeah, of course. I wouldn't expect anything less.
Although I did, interestingly, I did a couple of days ago find a random picture of my Sweeney stuff. And I thought, wow, that's really good. That I really need to get my skirmish on again. I say again. I mean, for the first time. But I've got some Blake 7 stuff as well for 7 TV, and 7 TV is a really great game.
I've never played it.
Have you not? It's very good, very very good. Some people don't like the concept of it being a TV show rather than a battle and a war. And they kind of don't get that, but the mechanics of the game are really good.
Right, okay. That's kind of what appealed to me, actually. What little I know about it is the fact that it's split into seasons and things, isn't it? Or is it episodes and stuff? It's all very it's all TV themed, isn't it? Whatever it is you're playing on. I quite like that idea. Something different.
I think there's quite a bit of Too Flat Lardy kind of stuff in it, because your game is an episode of your series, and then you have different acts within. So you have like an Act 1, an Act 2, and a finale, and each section has its own deck of cards. And you turn one of those over, and it adds friction. So you might turn one over, and it might say you need to move your character who's nearest to this, or this character activates a gadget, draw a gadget, and see what. So, and then as you go through the deck of cards towards the finale, the cards get more impactful on the game.
Right.
So it's like building the game to a crescendo, and you can't kind of hide behind a wall somewhere, and because by the time you get to the final act, you're turning these cards over, and your figures are flying all over the place, and doing standing forward rolls, and then firing a gun, and all that sort of stuff.
Excellent. I might take a proper look at it then, because the crooked dice figures are fantastic as well, aren't they? I always stop and look at their display whenever I see their stuff at a show, and I just love their sculpts. They're really, really nice. Tons of character.
They've got some absolutely fantastic stuff that I've used for the Sweeney and for Blake 7. And I'd love to know who their sculptor is, because whoever they are, they do an amazing job. And obviously, none of the figures are exactly what are in TV shows, but they do look very like some of the things.
Skirting that IP line very, very closely.
Very, very closely. So, anything new planned for the channel, or more of the same for Storm
More of the
Steel?
same, I think, to be honest. I'm working on a couple of videos at the moment, just painting videos. I've got quite a few battle reports to come out over the next few weeks after, as I say, after that little break I'm going to take anyway. Just kind of the same kind of thing, really. I hope, I mentioned it before, hoping to get to more shows, because after I went to Salute, I decided to start. A friend of mine's been badgering me for a couple of years about it, and saying you should really get some interviews with people. So I thought, this is when I said I went to Salute specifically to film the show, and I should have really done it at Partisan, but I just got a few interviews with people playing games and things, and just got them to talk about their board and what they were doing and that kind of stuff. And I think that went down really well. I think just adding in, instead of just having the film of the boards and the games and stuff people like, just have that little bit of context on top of it, of the person that's playing the game or set it up and things. I think, like I said, there's something I want to do a bit more of and make them a little bit more professional, if that's the right word. Just to up the ante a little bit. I think that's the whole idea. And that's probably what I'm going to try to do a little bit more next year, is just try to make the videos a little bit better, just add a little bit more for viewers. That's the plan.
I think the big thing for 2022 is obviously the Caesar Awards.
Still vote for it until the 31st.
I thought it'd be a good idea for us to, in a totally unbiased way, just go through the categories for the listeners. For the nominations.
Storm Steel.
I think what we could do is, Alex, we could make some suggestions for
Storm Steel.
Storm
Steel.
Favourite YouTube channel is obviously Storm Steel. Can we see any other contenders there, Alex, or are we just sticking with Storm Steel, I think?
Well, the problem is, if I say anything, it's my rivals, isn't it? This is the issue. Yeah. I would say, I mean, Travis won it last year anyway, but I would say probably Tabletop CP. But what I'd like to see is, I'd like to see some of the smaller channels come through, I think. Because people like Travis, and I guess even me at this point, are relatively, and I say that again, inverted commas, relatively well known within that YouTube wargaming world. I'd rather see a bit more... a little bit more of the other people come through. I mean, there's people like Big Lee's Miniature Adventures. He's got some great videos. There's the guys that do the Plastic Crack podcast. There's the four of them. They do some very good videos on their different channels. There's a lot of good YouTubers that are starting to put good effort into their wargaming output, and I'd like to see some of those. I think get a bit of recognition as much as anything else.
I think last time there was fairly limited nominations, wasn't there? There was only 3, I think, in each category. I think it would be nice to see that, maybe 4 or 5, just so there's more selection to vote for, and maybe certainly not for this year, but for next year, maybe a new channel, or a channel
somebody
with 1,000 subscribers or something like that. Yeah,
something like that, like a newcomer or something. I mean, I was talking to Greg about it last year, Greg from Little Wars, and he was saying that they had to review, I can't remember, I think it was about something like 900 channels, because that's how many got, that's how many were nominated. Because obviously, people are just nominating everything and anything. And he said basically they reviewed them, and some of them, you could tell straight away that there was no point going beyond the first couple of seconds. And then there was obviously other ones but obviously, so there's a massive amount of effort that they put into these things behind the scenes as well. So, I mean, that's something that they've got to bear in mind. The more categories you get, the more you're going to have to troll through all that stuff. And
I didn't know if they just picked the top 3 or 4 numbers of nominations and put that forward.
Not as far as, from my understanding of it, they went through, I think, pretty much every single channel that was nominated.
Wow, so that would be a long day.
But again, as I say, a lot of them, he did say that, some of them he didn't say any names, obviously, but some you could just see straight away that, they'd probably put out 2 videos, 4 years ago or something like that. It was, they concentrated more on the more active and the better produced stuff, which, fair enough. It's an awards thing, isn't it, really? Yeah. So, yes, I mean, it's just the sheer amount of work that they've got to put in the background, and I think they split it between them, because there's a big group of them, so they all took a certain amount of them each and went through them and then narrowed it down from that point.
You have these 80 channels to look at, and I'll look at these.
Yeah, exactly.
Well done, everyone. So the best war game video AAR is definitely not going to be Yorkshire Gamers Spanish Civil War refight. My one and only AAR. I might do another one eventually, but
you should do more. The more you do it, the better you get at it. I mean, it was a good one anyway. It doesn't matter, people like those things. They like battle reports. It's only the same as having it in a blog. People just like having it on in the background while they're painting. That's what I find.
If there was a particular Storm of Steel AAR that was people should consider.
I don't know, because once I've finished editing them, I instantly forget about them. This is half the problem when people come on the comments and tell me that I've done something wrong. It's like, I can't remember when I played that game. Never mind what you're talking about. What few seconds I rolled the wrong dice.
Because you've got them stacked up, haven't you? So it could be months before they come out.
Oh yeah, the one that I'm putting out this week was recorded in August.
Wow,
so, that's how far back we go. But I don't know. To be honest, I wouldn't even be able to say which one. I think, I don't know, maybe one of the quick strike ones that I did recently. I enjoyed making those, and I thought I think the one that I was probably most proud of was with the quick strike I did about the paratroopers at D-Day. Which I put quite a lot of effort into it, and I was quite pleased with the outcome, really. Of course, I always go, you get the usual comments. People tell you the music's too loud or something. It's all right, fair enough.
Yeah.
What are you doing then?
There's a Yorkshire accent on a Yorkshire gamer.
Yeah, I've had that before, to be honest.
So nice, easy one now for the public. Best War Games podcast.
Well, which one would you think, Ken?
Let me see.
Well, I only appear on the best ones, so that narrows it down, doesn't it?
So you're gonna nominate Brews in the Binyard and not Yorkshire Gamers Big War Games.
Yeah, absolutely. Just that one episode. I did actually, to be honest, Ken, I did actually go back and my first round of nominations were for myself, of course. But I went back and I did nominate quite a few other. Not only YouTube channels, but some other podcasts, including yourself as well, and Sean's, who's not here. But I went back purposely.
I don't mention Sean. He's not here. Don't want him taking votes off me.
But you've got at least one nomination, and that came from me. So you never know.
God.
You might be in with a chance.
Hey, you never know.
I think you should. It's a good podcast, this, But there's no point telling people who are listening to it because they already know it's a good podcast. But you should listen to the rest of them as well.
Yeah, well, I've been begging on every episode. I've had my little bowl out and my best Oliver face.
But you're getting a good reception of these, though. Anyway, aren't you? I mean, you're getting good numbers for the downloads and things you were saying.
It's very well. And to be honest, if I did get nominated, it would be absolutely fantastic because it's been a really. I only started in February. We've not been going a year yet, and I've wildly exceeded the numbers that I was even thinking about. So
like I said, I won't be the only person that's nominated you for one, I'm sure. And the thing is, like you say, the just the sheer. I don't know, head swellingness of getting nominated in the first place is great. Whether you win it or not, it doesn't matter. The fact that somebody has gone out of their way to put your name in the hat for them, really, I think that's a great thing. It shows you're doing the right thing. the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. And just in
nothing wrong
case
with
you
that.
wanted to know, listeners, the nominations are still open.
31st of December.
31st of December. So, moving
Are you
on
typing fingers
rapidly
in?
from that one. Best wargame blog.
Blog.
Other than Yorkshire Gamer, obviously.
The now defunct Storm of Steel.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like Pairs. To be honest,
but-
I don't read that a great many blogs these days because I'm usually concentrating on YouTube. Ian's is good. Tracks and Threads, I think it is. Tracks and Threads.
Yeah.
There is quite a lot of them out there, and I used to read a lot more than I do nowadays.
Yeah, I don't spend as much time on there as maybe I should. I'll give a shout out for Olicania lad, James Loach's web blog. He does a lot. He's done a lot of Italian wars and really good painter. Local lad, lives up in Ilkley. That's a really long-standing blog as well. Been going for a long time. I'd love to see that nominated.
Roundwood's World as well. Sid Roundwood. His blog is fantastic. Yeah, his is excellent. Really nicely laid out and just nice long-running blog as well. Well worth checking out.
Yeah, he has some great ideas with painting and the flashing blades stuff he's doing at the moment.
That's right.
It's well outside my comfort zone with its 2 foot square table. But it looks superb, and all the background he's done for it, and all the cards he's done for it. It's absolutely superb. And he's another one who takes part in the Analog Hobbies Winter Paint Challenge. So,
of course,
I'll be finishing second to him in the Best Painter of the Year competition as usual.
When people like Sydney enter these things, there's just no point, is there really? Just leave them to it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's taking part that counts, not winning.
Well, I think everyone's got some cracking ideas there for people to vote for in some of the categories for the Caesars Awards. So we'll take another short break and then we'll come back and we'll do some questions.
Hi Ken, Stephen Wold here from episode 11 of your fantastic podcast. From Down Under, I just want to wish all your followers and yourself a really happy and great festive season, and I hope you get some time behind the brushes and with your contrast paints. Merry Christmas.
Hi, it's Richard Harris of Legendary Wargames here from episode 2 of the Yarkshire Gamers Read Big Wargames podcast. Wishing you all a great Christmas and a Happy New Year. Our New Year programme offers Napoleonics, World War II, American Civil War and a 1960s Cold War game. If you fancy a real big game over a weekend, see our website. May your dice roll kindly in 2022 and cheers, Ken.
So we're back, and we asked the listeners and watchers and what have you in various Yorkshire Gamer formats to put some questions for our hashtag Ask Our Nora section, and we've got some from Twitter, we've got some from Facebook, and we've got some from Instagram as well. So there's 17 questions. And like one of those really shit Christmas raffles down the Working Men's Club, I'm going to ask Alex to draw a number, and then if you get it right, you'll get probably the worst bottle of Spanish wine you've ever had in your life.
Blue Nun.
That Doreen from behind the bar brought back from her holiday in Tenerife 20 years ago.
Oh, that's posh.
Desperate to get rid of. So,
2 weeks in
let's see what the magic of the Christmas raffle brings. So let's have a number between 1 and 17, Alex.
Okay, I've got my D17 here. I'm going to roll this.
Yeah.
And I've got a 3.
A 3?
Yeah.
Okay. This
I hope you're going to remember which ones I've asked for, because otherwise we might repeat them.
Yeah, I'll cross them off. But it's up to you to remember which ones you've shouted out.
Yeah.
So this is
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, yeah, exactly. This is from, and this is. I think this was aimed at Sean being here, but he isn't. So we'll just tear it.
We'll answer it in his stead.
Yeah, sorry, Sean, but if you're not here, mate, you can't put your 6 mil.
Leave
forward.
a comment.
Yeah, on Twitter at toastinessbgg, asking for a friend. His miniatures collection is all 6 mil. I've been told that it's distinctly under average. His wife says it's not size that matters, but how you use it. Should my friend be worried?
No worries whatsoever. 6 mil is a perfectly good, reasonable scale when you don't have much space, or you even if you have space. 6 mil games are fantastic. My Blucher collection is 7,000 6mm British and French, and now adding Prussians to that, and they look fantastic on a table as far as I'm concerned. The more the merrier in 6 mil. There is no shame in going small. Is probably the answer that Sean would also give, I think.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ken?
So surprisingly for me, I would say that going small is a great way of going big. So if as we discussed on our previous podcast, I have this unbelievable inability to skirmish game. And when I go down scales, I merely use the same base size for a unit and fill it with more figures. So to me, 6 mil is a fantastic way to have 80, 120 figure units all on the same space, and have even bigger games on the bigger table.
Yeah, exactly that. It starts to look even more like an army, doesn't it? When you stand back and see the tiny little men packed tightly together. And it looks great, I think. I think 6 mil. I'm a big fan of 6 mil.
Yeah, we've got to talk about Pear's Poltava game, haven't we? And that's how it should be done, I think.
Exactly that. Yeah, it's that big overall overarching feel of the battle itself, isn't it? Not just like a little bit on the edge of it. It's the actual, the attack on a town, a siege or something. It looks fantastic.
But if you restrict, when I started gaming and I came to university, we did quite a bit of 6 mil, and I've got 6 mil ancients and stuff, because the only place we had to game other than down the club was on the kitchen table in the student dig. So that was, a bit of 6 mil Thracians versus Republican Romans, and one of them mad things that the Rompals, is it, that the Thracians have that probably didn't even exist now that archaeology's looked at it, and it doesn't half spoil things, doesn't it? You have this magic weapon, and then somebody goes bloody digging somewhere and goes, they didn't have any of them.
Nonsense, historical nonsense.
Such a shame. So I think we've answered that. I think our mate there, he's nothing to worry about. And I would say, if you're going small, go big.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's for. Epic. All right.
So next roll of your D17.
Okay, I've got this time an 11.
11. And this is from Speak of the Devil, and he shall appear from Twitter. This is our mate Per Broden. He sent in a number of questions, and I think I'm kind of glad that Sean isn't here for this one, because he would have no knowledge of this whatsoever, and because it's a tea question,
right?
He's Prayer's already realised that we will go for Yorkshire tea. But the question is it worth going for gold? Yorkshire gold.
Yorkshire tea gold. Well, I'm going to let you know a little secret here, actually. As much as I do like Yorkshire tea, I don't actually have any in the house. I drink PG tips, which I can hear you slowly dying, and I'm sorry,
Oh
but
no!
you know, I'm a working class lad. What can I say? You know, I'll go for cheap stuff. I like the sweepings off the tea factory floor. They're nice.
Yeah.
You know, it makes a good cup of tea. But I do like Yorkshire tea. But it's because the water around here doesn't work with Yorkshire tea. You have to have right water.
Is that because it's full of grit and the sweat of steel workers?
Right. Yeah.
Hard-working northerners have sweated in this water. It won't make tea.
but yeah, whether you have Yorkshire tea gold, I don't know. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, you may as well. And well, have it for Sunday, or for Sunday best, or for when visitors come round, when the Queen comes round, and you get the Yorkshire tea gold out, don't you? I wouldn't drink it every day. I'd have it special. I think like a birthday or something.
Yeah, we don't go for it here. I have to say,
it's Swithin's Day.
Yeah, it's a bit ilkly. It's a bit otley. It's a bit harrogate for us. Us Pudsey folk.
Yeah,
we've got injured bears to look after here in Pudsey, and we can't afford all our extra money goes to save bears who've been shot whilst marching through the. Anyway,
shot in the Boer War, the Bear War.
Well, come on, thanks for that, pair. I think we slaughtered that one. D17 again.
Dead. Shotty dead. I've rolled this time. I rolled a 16.
16. Oh, we're into the depths
because that's actually on the edge of the dice. Because it's such a weird shape. Faces. Yeah.
D17 dice are available from the Storm of Steel website store.
18 quid each.
Yeah. Very reasonable value. So from Instagram and VSM96, and this is probably going to be me answering this one, but you might have a go, Alex. What's the biggest challenge of organising massive battles?
Well, I've never done it, but I would assume it's getting everybody in one place, because if you're going to organise it, you've probably already got an idea of what it is that you want to do. You've probably already got the terrain that you want to do it on. You've probably already got the figures that you're going to do it with. So unless you're starting from scratch, most of those have been ticked off already, I would have thought. The next thing you've got to do is herd the cats, and that's the players, isn't it? Get all of them into one place at one time, and then ensure that they all know what they're doing as well and how they're doing it.
Wargamers are notoriously difficult to all get together in one place. I mean, we've failed tonight to get 3 people in the same place.
Exactly that. but yeah, I mean, it wasn't a big game, but the last game I played at the club last week, I took Wings of War down, and we had, I think there was 11 or 12 of us playing it. And just to get people to choose which side they wanted to be took about 20 minutes. It's like all you have to do is just sit on one side of the table or the other. So for God's sake, so even just doing it that at that level, and then so organising it up, I think it's the difficulty is the people. I don't know. What do you think? You've done it more way more. Well, I've never done it. So even doing it once.
There's another slightly similar question in the set, so I'm going to stay away from an answer for that one. But I think the challenge of organising it is. And this might sound a bit daft, is the organising of it. So you have to spend time before you actually get there to organise a table, have a battle map ready, your orders of battle, briefings for all your players, make sure that you've got all the kit that you need, all the dice, all the cards, all the rulers, or explosion markers, whatever you need for that game, because there's nothing worse than turning up at a game with 12 people ready to go, and then you go, right, I'll just get the routed markers. Oh, bollocks. Oh, they're at home. So that's the biggest challenge. And then the other thing that a lot of people need to kind of forget is the ability to be flexible, and the ability to mix it up when you maybe have more players than you thought you were going to get, or you have less players than you thought you were going to get, or you need to have that ability to see that maybe somebody isn't quite involved, at one end of the table, or they're not taking part as much as that you would like them to because of the situation of the battle, and then changing up the scenario or doing something to get them involved, rather than them sitting there and thinking, God, these big games are shite. I'm not doing out here. And I think that's a lot of the people I've spoken to over the years who don't like big games have had that, like Sean said on our previous podcast, where he was sat down moving an ammunition wagon for 2 days at 5 inches a turn. But it didn't put him off. So
maybe if it's your first time you've ever played, you might not, be so worried about that. But if you go expecting to be part of the action, and like you say, you're just shifting a logistics wagon about it, that can be a bit dispiriting. I'd agree with that. I think player downtime is probably one of the biggest. It's probably one of the hardest things, isn't it? Like you said, people just not being involved in it for whatever reason, whether the scenario is all happening on one part of the table and they're not at that part of the table, and just getting them involved in it and keeping it fresh for everybody and enjoyable for everyone. I think that's probably the biggest issues.
Excellent.
I mean, that goes for any size of game, big game or small game, doesn't it? Really, if you've got 3 players and one of them's just sat twiddling their thumbs, it's crap for them as well. If you've got 30 players and one of them's sat twiddling their thumbs, it's crap for them.
Yeah, exactly. So we've covered that one. So let's roll that dice again.
Okay, this time it's a 9.
A 9. Well, we're back to one of Pear's questions, and we've kind of answered this a little bit earlier on, but it's Pear's asking, what's your best gaming experience of 2021, and also of all time?
That's a hard one. Well, we've kind of already answered the 2021 one, haven't we? So just rewind and listen to that bit. There you go. Easy. Probably the Lardy Games days, I think, were some of the best experiences. And best game overall, you go on, you say the 2021, and if you've got a best one while I ever think about that.
Probably best of all time, and I'm gonna hark back to nostalgia with this one. I mentioned it in previous podcasts before, but I had a friend when I was younger whose dad used to make like training films for ICI and people like that.
Oh yeah.
And he had a big cinema where the bigwigs used to come down and watch these training films and adverts and stuff that he'd done. And when we used to clear the seats out and have massive games in there. And I distinctly remember a Waterloo game that we played there that was absolutely massive. And I just remember daft things like Napoleon challenging Wellington to a single-armed duel with tape measures. Right,
historical, was it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my friend Sean, who I've not seen for a long time, was very dramatic, and he would go, "Let us end this senseless waste of human life and duel. The winner shall win the day." And then he'd chase me around the bloody room with a tape measure. But yeah, that was just one of those games where we were kind of flush with youth and excitement for wargaming, and it was a huge table, and we got thousands of 15 mil in those days, thousands of figures. And I always remember that Napoleon got killed leading a charge of the Guard Lancers. And that the French were about to win as well, and Napoleon got killed, and the morale crumbled, and the British and Prussians won the day. So I still remember that with fondness.
To be honest, I think mine actually probably again nostalgia, and it probably revolves around we played a series of Waterloo campaign games with using the SG 172nd figures that I had, and we basically just got every single one that we got and put them on the table. And I had it was on, well, I'd say table. It was basically two doors. The I think my dad had sourced for me somewhere, and one of them was painted with green emulsion paint and was all bent up and things. And we had hundreds of these figures on, and I think the British got wiped out to a man. Every single one of them died. So they lost Waterloo. But I just remember, it's like you say, it was not so much about the game. It was more about, the enthusiasm we had for wargaming at the time, as we were kids. And half the figures weren't painted. It was, it was a right mess. But it was just such fun times, really, to play those games. That was I think that's the endearing memories of it. I think they're probably some of my best games, just because the idiocy of youth. I think we didn't care about orders of battle or how many men are supposed to be in a battalion or a brigade or whatever, or even which ones they were. We knew we had some French, we had some British, and they were fighting on Waterloo. We had the Ridge, we had a couple of the farms, and that was it. It was great. It's what more do you need, really?
Yeah, I remember playing some games with those. The 172nd, weren't they? The
That's right.
figures?
Yeah.
And then some people had some 25mm figures.
Right.
And I remember Sean bringing along a unit of Hesh Darmstadt, and we were all like, "Going, you've made that up. That's not a real place, that." you couldn't just go on the internet, could you, and go Hesh Darmstadt?
No, not a chance.
So my apologies, Sean, if I doubted your honesty with the historical accuracy of those figures. I was unaware that was a real place. So there we go. So let's roll the dice again.
Right, rolling this time. I can't remember what numbers I rolled before, because I am rolling a dice. I'm not just pulling these numbers out of my head, obviously. 13, looking for some.
13, lucky 13. And this is the one question from Facebook, and is relatively serious question for us. This is from Simon Stokes.
I don't know how we're going to be able to answer that then if it's serious.
Yeah, well, he's probably accidentally sent this to the wrong podcast. God's Only Scales serious podcast. Listen to that one. So, terrain on a war games table, particularly with respect to ancients and Renaissance. He seems to be in a minority in wanting plenty of terrain on his table, rivers and towns, etc. But he suggested a big Fenovo refight, which is the game that I did at Fiasco, and everyone else in the club thinks he's lost his mind. And he says, has he lost his mind to want more terrain in ancients and Renaissance games?
No, of course not. Why not? Why would you? I mean, there are fields and terrain items and woods and still in the ancient and Renaissance periods. What they had towns, they had large urban areas, so you can add those onto a board. The rivers weren't canalized, so they're bigger than they are now. The terrain is incredibly important, I think, on any wargaming board. I maybe I can't remember if it was this year or previous year. I posed the question on Twitter, which is, are figures better than terrain? Is terrain better than figures, or are they equal? And I can't remember what the poll results were, but we had quite an interesting discussion. And Ivan from Nordic Weasel Games said, painted figures, really nicely painted figures on a table with no terrain look like really nicely painted figures. But mediocre painted figures on a table with really nice terrain look like really great, well-painted figures. Or I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but basically it was like, you can get away with if you've got a really nice table, you can get away with mediocre figures. kind of thing, because it's all part of the whole spectacle, isn't it? It's all part of the whole immersion. And I think, I'm with Terrain Tober and things, I'm more into, these days, more into terrain now. I mean, mate's been browbeating about me for years about it because he's always been more into the railway modelling side of things. That's how he got into wargaming. So he's always been more interested in the terrain side of things, and he's always had his tables look fantastic. And it's only relatively recent that I started picking up my terrain game, and I think, war gamers in general, I'm generalizing here, but a lot of war gamers just concentrate on the figures, and then secondary glance is cast over to the terrain. And I think, you're doing it wrong. It's all part of the whole thing, isn't it? Even having little bits and pieces of scatter terrain and stuff, like anything that you can just chuck on a table just to fill it up and make it look interesting, for players and things.
I think we've talked a little bit, I think, about competitions games, didn't we, in the previous thing? And I think a lot of Ancients play is competition based. And although I'm no historian, but I know the better, like Alexander would want a flat surface for his pike blocks. He wouldn't want huge bodies of men trying to keep formation whilst crossing 14 hedges and a stream. Whereas your Gauls are going to be taking advantage of the terrain in the forest whilst attacking the Romans. So I don't think a lot of ancient games, the more serious, serious is probably the wrong word, but the more competition points based, don't really use terrain, or when they do, it's kind of part of the setup. And there's some games, isn't there, where you can move terrain around the table based on die rolls and stuff.
There's quite a few rules that do that, don't they? They allow players to move it.
Always, there's a nice mechanic in Meg in Mortimer Glorium where, depending on how good your two generals are, you have like a pre-battle maneuver. So if you had a Roman general versus a Gaul general, the Roman general would try and maneuver the battle into an area with less terrain to suit his troops. And obviously the Gaul would try and do the opposite to that. So that's quite a nice mechanic for that. But if you're fighting historical refights, which is what I mostly do, then your terrain's decided for you, really.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? But then also as well, I mean, kind of off the back of the Meg thing, the generals don't always choose where they fight, do they? I mean, if they're caught in an open, so you could be trapped, between two clumps of trees. But my thing is scatter terrain works well because you don't have to have like a massive wood. You could just have a couple of trees mounted individually and just stick them on the table and just move them if the troops go up to them, just move them out of the way. They don't have to be there, but it just looks nice. I mean, it just adds just another layer of immersion into the game, I think, and it's a very simple, easy fix. It doesn't have to be a game changing or rule changing piece of terrain. It can just be there and can be moved out of the way if you need to, but just make it look nice, Like some of the lads at the club, they play on like bottle green 6x4 tables, and it drives me mad. I just think just buy a cloth, just get yourself a gaming mat. They're expensive, but you'll use it a lot, and it just looks a lot better, and it makes otherwise you may as well just be moving pieces of paper around with a unit name. I think if you're going that far to paint all the figures and stuff, go that little extra step and just make some nice terrain. Exactly. I don't know if that was answering the question or not, but it's like, really.
Is that what we're supposed to be doing, answering the questions? So Simon, you're not going mad, mate, and if you're going to play Fornovo, you definitely need a big river down the middle of it, and if you don't cross it, you're not going to have a battle. So
there you go. There's your answer.
Get over the river and get scrapping. So thanks very much for that, Simon. And let's have another one.
Okay, rolling that dice. Oh, it's a 1.
It's a 1. This is from our friend on Twitter, the Friends of General Haig,
Oh,
and
yes.
this is definitely stuck this one in definitely to cause problems. And you'll see why in a
I'm sure
minute.
you want to ask it.
Yeah, and again, he's now with Sean here. There's no opposing side to this question. So, which relish do you prefer? A proper traditional one, by royal appointment, like Lee and Perrin's Worcester sauce, or a Johnny-come-lately imitator like Henderson's relish?
Well, I don't even want. I don't want to answer that with. I don't want to acknowledge it with an answer because there is only one relish, and that is Henderson's. You know, all the rest are just they may as well draw it out of a swamp, haven't they? You know, that's my answer.
Well, Henderson's relish is 1850 something. Looking at the bottle, so
when's Worcester sauce? Worcester is like 1920 or something, probably 1980, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, where is Worcestershire? I mean,
who cares?
What's it famous for?
Actually, I met Boba Fett at Worcester.
Oh, did you? Was he on a bit of a bounty hunt in Worcester?
Yes. He was selling. I'm just looking up when was Worcester sauce actually first came out. Worcester sauce has been considered a generic term since 1876.
Oh, I think Henderson's is older than that.
Okay. Well, actually, it's fermented liquid created in the city of Worcester during the first half of the 19th century, but it hasn't got a date for it, I don't think.
Yeah.
Liam Perrin's first
1870 something.
1876 is when Worcester sauce was considered a generic term. And that's the High Court of Justice ruled that Liam Perrins did not own a trademark for the name Worcestershire sauce. So that's a bit different. Liam Perrins was commercialised in 1837 and the first type of sauce to bear the Worcestershire name. So they do have it all the way back to 1837.
Oh, they might just nip in then. Might just nip in. This is exciting stuff here for the readers. This is nail-biting. This is like the final of Strictly on amphetamine, this is.
Oh, God, come on, where is it?
It's on the front of the bottle.
Well, just read it out then. I haven't got a bottle in front of me.
No, I'm upstairs. I haven't got a bottle with me.
There's a bottle of... What do you mean? You don't drink it neat?
Yeah.
I do. Well, it does say made in Sheffield for over 100 years on this bottle picture, but I can't see an actual date for it.
Yeah, I'm sure the one I've got says 1858 or something like that.
Yeah, manufactured the latter part of the 19th century. So it can have that. We're a bit later, but that doesn't mean to say it's worse, because it's not.
Yeah, exactly. So that's two votes for Henderson's relish. So I'm sorry, but there we go. That's it.
Yeah, 100%, 2 votes. There you go. What more do you need? We win. Yorkshire. Yorkshire. So we've been going to the football for years, me and the wife, and she thought that chant was the fans saying "your shit" to the other team, not Yorkshire. And she got it after about 12. I got it after about 12 years of going to watch Bradford. Anyway. So, last question before we take a break. So, okay. Rolling our dice again, and I've got a 15.
15. This is the other big game question. And so, Henry Hawk 99 on Instagram. I found that big games are visually impressive, but between setup play, takedown, and time constraints, a conclusion is not often reached. Have you found this to be the case? If so, you do, have you got any suggestions for organising and speeding up play?
I'm not. You go first, Ken, because I'm not really a big game specialist.
Yeah, well, this is a really, really common thing with big games, and people who are starting out on big games, and the temptation is always to get 5 or 6 mates in a room and bring all of your figures and put all of them on the table without any consideration or planning whatsoever. And then, you've got wall-to-wall units of figures, and it looks fantastic, and then you try and play it, and it doesn't particularly work very well because there's been no thought or organisation gone into the actual game itself. So if you're lucky enough, like we are, having a permanent club premises, you can set massive games up, and whenever you need to go or whenever you want to go and play, you go and play. But when you let's say, and quite a common thing would be somebody hiring a village hall for a weekend or a church hall for a weekend. You've got to plan for the fact that that's what you've got. You've got a weekend, and it's the planning stage of it, like we talked about with the previous question, is of not planning for the biggest possible game that you can, but planning for the game that you can do with the time and the space that you've got. So that my suggestion is just, I'm not being rude, is organising better. That's then because the temptation's there. And when we were younger, like we were being nostalgic then, everyone would bring all the figures, wouldn't they? And you'd just go, stick them on the table.
That's it. It's piss poor preparation precedes piss poor performance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think, again, it's not something I've done, but I think maybe even, I don't know, slimming down the rules a little bit, just so things speed up on the actual day, so you're not looking through rules books, because that can take a lot of time up. It can eat up quite a lot of time just trying to actually find a particular rule. If you can't think of it, just roll a D6, 1 to 3 one way, 4 to 6 the other way, and just keep the game flowing. Maybe I would also suggest maybe having specific points of capture on the table, and whoever captures the most at the end of the 2 days is the winner. You know what I mean? So it's not like you're not fighting to the end of an army. You're fighting just to get these particular points, and whoever's got the most on their side wins the game. So at least you've got a conclusion. You know what I mean? I think things like that that'd be the route I would go down. Be a bit more scenario specific like that, rather than just turning up and everything scrapping until there's nothing left, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of the desert war games that we do, World War II desert games that we do, has different objectives for different armies, and the British can kill absolutely all the Italians or capture all the Italians and still not win, because the Italians will have got objectives that are more suitable for their troop types and quality. And I think that's on the back of what you said there. That's another good way of doing it, of having your objectives or kill 3 times as many as the other opponent, etc. We did a game, a really, really good game that we always talk about, Spanish Civil War, and it was the attack on the university in Madrid.
Right.
And there were 3 players on the Republican side and 3 players on the nationalist side, but each of them had a set of 6 objectives that were unknown to any of the other players.
Okay.
So there was a famous bit where the anarchist player was running across the battlefield with one of his flags, and everyone's going, "What are you doing?" But one of his objectives was to plant his anarchist flag on the top of one of the other the Poom building or something like that, one of the opposing communist forces, and they get points for that. So that's a really good way. So organise for the time and space that you've got, and think of or have a way of totting up a winner, whether you've finished in inverted commas or not.
Yeah, I think that's the way. Just have it a bit more focused on those scenario objectives.
Cool. Well, there we go. We'll take a quick break for some more Christmas messages before we come back for the final bit of Ask Our Nora.
Hello everyone. It's Simon Hall here from episode 8, the creator of Meg, and now Division of Steel, and also the lead designer for Rome Total War, the board game. Just want to wish you all a fantastic Christmas and New Year. This year's been an amazing year. We're now moved back from South Africa, so it's really good to be back in Blighty, and I'm really looking forward to some big games with my friends in the UK during the course of next year. Been an amazing year. Meg continues to flourish with people loving it. Divisions of Steel is going to be out on pre-sale December the 17th, and Rome Total War, the board game, is going to Game Found, I think, January 17th, so next year is going to be an amazing year. Look forward to joining you on one of the shows and for some games. Take care. Bye.
Mark Freeth here from episode 5 of Yarkshire Gamers Reek Big War Games podcast. I just want to wish all you gamers out there a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I really hope to see some of you in the new year. We have a selection of Napoleonic, Italian Wars, Indian Mutiny and English Civil War for you all. So just check out the website for dates. I look forward to seeing you all in the new year.
Right. So here we go then. It's the final bit of the final show of the year. And we've got a few questions left. So let's see what Alex's lucky 17-sided dice gives us.
Okay, I'm just trying to work out again which actual sides I've rolled on this thing. There we go. That's a 4 this time.
A 4.
We haven't rolled that one before, have we?
Oh, no.
It's amazing, isn't it, how this dice just keeps rolling completely different numbers every time I roll it.
Anyone would think it was random.
Mm.
So we're back at Twitters and at Rostrum OS. Have you got any thoughts for ahistorical themes for historical miniatures? And he does say, I'm not sure if this is for this podcast.
I'm trying to work out the question. Any thoughts for historical?
Well, I suppose
historical
something like that Silver Bayonet that's come out, where you're using Napoleonics in a Gothic horror setting.
Okay. Oh, is it fantasy themes for historical miniatures?
Yeah, ahistorical is.
Oh, yeah. Ahistorical. Sorry, I thought you said historical themes for historical miniatures. I was going to say, use Napoleonic figures for the Waterloo campaign. There you go. There's your answer. Anything that's historical, use that. Yeah. I don't know, to be honest. From my point of view, I know there's a massive buzz about Silver Bayonets, and a lot of people are buying it and going mad about it and things. And to me, I don't know, it's something I've just never been that interested in, that kind of thing. Doing historic, it's like Conflict 47 and things. So I find the historical period in itself is interesting without having to add vampires or mechanoid creatures or whatever into the Second World War. It's like I don't really understand the appeal of it, but each to their own at the end of the day. Like, it's just not my thing. I'm more interested in history.
Well, I've always had 2 wargaming rules: the wargaming rules of life, and one of those is to not do the same period in different scales. So
I've broken that rule several times.
Yeah. So I've got 6 mil ACW army. I haven't got 15s. I haven't got 10s. I haven't got 28s. I've cheated a little bit with World War II, where I've got 28 mil Desert World War II and 15 mil Russian Front World War II and 6
different theatre. Fine.
Front World War II. So I cheated a little bit with that, but the other of the 2 rules is no weird shit.
Is this like your painting guide?
Yeah, so
don't fuck about, no weird shit.
No weird shit is definitely one. I've breached it a couple of times. I've got there was a game. I'm looking on my shelf behind me now. Can't remember what it was called. It was like a Victorian steampunk thing. Empire of the Dead, was it?
1889, was it?
Yeah. That
The one with all the dirigibles and things like that, and cogs and stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I got some figures for that mostly because I wanted to paint the figures.
Yeah.
And there was a Jack the Ripper scenario in there that we played a couple of times as like a family thing. Occasionally we'll play games together, and that worked really well for that context. But that's and obviously Lord of the Rings is real, so that doesn't count as weird shit. Yeah,
it's really boring.
Yeah. It's not when you've got 628mm Rohan cavalry going across the table. That is a sight.
I'd probably like to see that. That would be nice.
That's a sight to see, because obviously I did skirmish level again. So yeah, I think you're probably right, Rostrum OS. This is probably the wrong podcast.
Yeah, I think so.
But thank you.
I was reading a review, I think in WSS magazine, of Silver Bayonet, and it was saying, I think it said, you end up basically ignoring the vampires, and then the French and the British end up just fighting each other. I just thought, well, why don't you play sharp practice then? What's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point of having that extra thing in there?
If I am good at one thing, I'm very good at not getting on board with new trends.
Yeah.
You'll get something will come on board and it'll be vogue for a while, and everyone will jump on it. Like Gangs of Rome, there's one. Where's that now?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I was talking to somebody, I think at Pudsey actually, it's about it. One of the stalls, they were saying, "Oh yeah, we're selling a lot of Silver Bayonets at the moment." And I said, "Yeah, in 6 months, nobody will be buying it." And I think it's going to be true. They're flashing the pans. Some people will play it, but there will also be something new, and somebody else will, they'll just find another period to put vampires into. I don't know, Italian Wars.
Yeah, Italian Wars vampires. Wait, if you buy 28mm World War One figures, then you're going to be playing 28mm World War One, maybe with a different set of rules. But those figures are generic, whatever you do. Whereas if you go for a specific game system, you tie yourself down to that game system, and
very much.
Whereas you get opponents during that initial flush of excitement. Getting opponents later on is probably not as easy. But there we go. So we've got a few left. So what do you want to go for, mate?
I'm going to give up all pretense now. What numbers are left? Dear reader, there's no such thing as a D17.
What we'll do is, because there's two really crap questions that I'm not going to do, and you've avoided them so far.
You can't leave it to that. You've got to say what they are, so we can and scorn on them.
I'll do the crap questions, and I'm very sorry, Battlebrush Studios, but these are two of the worst questions for a wargaming podcast I've ever.
You just
heard.
Lost a subscriber.
He's the cracking Twitter account, great painter,
amazing.
Questions for podcasts. So he has done 4 questions, and 2 of them are. I'll do the 2 bad ones. So what is the best cover version of Last Christmas?
No idea.
I didn't even know there was a cover version.
I didn't know there was a cover version of it either.
So there we go.
The original is bad enough. I wouldn't want to listen to a cover version. Why would
exactly. And then this next question is going to.
I see what you mean by being a crap question.
This one is going to. This one is going to cut out about 90% of the population who are not going to understand this at all. But it wants to know which is the best version of Only You. Is it the Yazoo version or the version by Flying Pickets?
My God, again, I don't even know the song. I know Yazoo and Flying Pickets, so I don't know the song. So
yeah, well,
literally, I've got no.
I'm not going to sing it because we'll get
banned off Podbean.
We'll get a warning on YouTube. But do you remember the? Yeah, you remember the Flying Pickets? They were a bunch of old blokes who just like fallen out of a pub somewhere and sang a cappella.
I kind of only really remember the name than anything they actually ever did. I'm a little bit too young. I remember it being around. I just can't remember. I wouldn't be able to pick out a song of theirs at all. But yes, I do remember them.
Yeah, they were like
Yazoo was like early 90s, wasn't it? Late 80s, early 90s.
They were like an ugly looking version of the Wurzels.
Now there's a super group if ever I've heard of one. Brilliant.
Oh, Wurzels Flying Pickets crossover band.
Amazing.
Oh dear me! You'd have to wheel them on though, wouldn't you? I don't think there's many of them.
You would, I think, at this point. Yeah.
Anyway, we got rid of those.
Yeah. So second crap question. Get rid of that.
Get rid of that one. Right. So we'll go through the rest of the remaining ones in order. Friends of General Haig, his second question from Twitter, and this is quite a nice one actually. If Santa was going to grant you a Christmas wish for any pair of War Games armies, past, present, or future, that belong to somebody else, which would you have and why?
Does it have to belong to somebody else?
Not necessarily. I mean, the one I'm thinking of does. But yeah, no. I mean,
go on, you give your answer first, because I'm.
Well, anyone who's listened to this, anyone who's listened to this podcast will probably be able to guess that I would love to have Peter Gilder's Italian Wars collection.
Oh you mentioned that.
I mean I remember back to, I'm sure it was number 2 of War Games Illustrated, and it had a picture of a Italian Wars gendarme on the front, and there was colour pictures inside. You used to get 3 or 4 colour pages, didn't you? And the rest was black and white.
Yeah.
And that had pictures of that army, and that what would have been early 80s when that came out. And that started my love of the Italian Wars off. So it's an easy one for me. That is easy one.
There you go. Well then, yeah, thinking about it, I think mine would be it wouldn't go back so far like to Peter Gilder and stuff. I would take somebody from today's stuff, and I would either.
Are you stealing it?
Yeah,
you can't steal it, Alex.
It's a Christmas wish.
Christmas wish.
What I want with it.
Right.
I don't care if it's a criminal activity. It's a Christmas wish. Doesn't matter. Stop spoiling Christmas for me, Ken. You ruined it.
I think Battlebrush Studios has ruined it with these bloody 2 questions.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway. Upset us both, I think, there.
Yeah.
And that Worcestershire Sauce one as well. Oh.
Yeah.
I would steal any of John Savage's or any of his armies for any of the Lardy games. I would also steal, I think it's Mark Bretherington. I think his surname is his tactical painter on Twitter.
All right, yeah.
I would steal anything that he's painted. And finally, I would also have any of Jim Ibbetson's stuff as well. He paints a lot of the figures that are in the Lardy, the modern Lardy rule sets, and they are outstanding. Any of those I would do. Any of those 3 guys' works are amazing, I think, and I would be more than happy to have any. It wouldn't matter what they are; I'd have them on the table any time. So yeah, I'm stealing them for Christmas, and they can blubber in the corner as far as I'm concerned. I'm having your figures.
So that leads us nicely on to Battlebrush Studios' better questions. We've seen the standard already. And the first one is a middle of the road question, a nice easy one. What's for dinner on Christmas? And we are very traditional. We're turkey and 97 veg, and in fact, I'll tell the story. I went to my wife's parents. This is years and years ago, because we've been together about 30 years, and they're farmers down in Wales, and Christmas dinner, we're all sat round, and they bring this plate to me that is the biggest plate I've ever seen. John the Baptist's head, that sort of size plate. It's absolutely massive. And all I can see is gravy, potatoes, and various types of veg that I've never seen in my life. And it's piled up about 4 or 5 inches above the plate.
Right.
So I was eating that for about 20 minutes, and I got to the point where I'm thinking, these buggers are vegetarian, aren't they? Because I can't see. And then after 20 minutes of solid eating, I finally found the turkey, which was underneath. And it was like half a turkey under there. So yeah, we are very, very traditional, and that and Christmas pud with rum sauce for pudding.
Christmas dinner for me is one of the things I'm not that fussed about, like the traditional one. But my wife's very traditional. She likes a Christmas dinner, so anything for a quiet life, we'll end up having a Christmas dinner. But I really like things like, I like the Yorkshire puddings, I like the roast potatoes, I do like a bit of turkey, but I personally just think it's a lot of effort for very little when I could just order a takeaway. I'd prefer to do that, just get a curry or something. Let somebody else do the effort. Because we're going to Austria. Her kitchen is quite small because it's in a flat, and so I don't know what we're going to do about it. And I did suggest that we ordered in a traditional Austrian dinner. Again, just let somebody else do it. Just spend a little bit of money, but we'll see. So yeah, I don't know. Whatever it's going to be, it's not going to be whatever it is I want. Let's just say that. I still enjoy it, whatever it is.
Yeah. And the final one from Battlebrush Studios, which is actually a decent one in the end. Are Dream Wargaming projects best left untouched?
It depends what it is, doesn't it? I mean, that's a bit of an open-ended question. I mean, is he almost as though he's trying to set it up to fail in the first place? Do you think, is it not going to work out? I mean, I guess, I don't know. I don't really know what I'm trying to say. I don't really have a dream wargaming project because, like I said to you, I don't really have many. I don't really work in that project mindset. I just do what I want to do at the time. And things change about, but I kind of keep it within relatively strict boundaries anyway. So I don't work towards an end with a project. I'd start something, but I'd do something else, and I'd do a bit of something else, but I'd go back to the thing I was starting at. And so to me, it doesn't. I don't know. Yeah, no, don't leave them untouched. Do them. It's a dream. I
can kind of see where it's coming from, because I had a similar thing. I always wanted a knights on horses, flowing caparisons, shields, family armor, that sort of thing. And it looks fantastic when it's done, but Jesus Christ, it's hard work. I've done it now. I've done it with a late Crusades army, but you can get into stuff like that. Something that looks absolutely fantastic, like Lanchnecks is another one.
They seem to be pretty big at the moment. There's a lot of people painting Lanchnecks, I've noticed.
Yeah, God knows why. Paint early Swiss because they're not in those stupid uniforms. So you have something that looks fantastic on the table, but takes a hell of a lot of work to do and can become a bit of a slog.
Yeah.
So you can start, getting through 12-figure, fully armoured, fully caparisoned, fully emblazoned unit of knights. It's not something you start on a Monday and finish on Wednesday afternoon. It's a long slog. So I can see where it's coming from, but I think if you take wargaming as most of it is for most of us as a lifetime thing, if it takes you a year to do a unit, in 10 years you'll have 10 units.
Yeah.
And a lot of people look at stuff very short term and think, oh, it's going to take me forever to paint 300 figures. If it takes you a couple of years, then it takes you a couple of years, doesn't it?
I think that's the thing. I suppose that's going back to that flash in the pan kind of thing, though, isn't it? Where something's new, people they jump on it and then suddenly realise, the epic stuff, we talked about it, but there's a hell of a lot of figures in those boxes.
Yeah.
And it is the new big shiny thing. So I wonder how many of them in a year are going to be, even half painted.
Yeah, still in a
because
box.
something else will have come out, but there's obviously going to be some people that stick to it. And I think, it's like, how long is a piece of string? If it's your dream, then work at it until you've finished it, because it's just finishing a big project is going to be, is a goal in itself. It's something worthwhile doing, but you don't have to just do that project here. Like you say, you could take 10 years to paint the army, and in 10 years you'll have that, that force. And if it's your dream, you're still going to be dreaming about it in 10 years, hopefully, otherwise it's not your dream, is it? And,
well, I'm going to break a few bubbles and make a few people cry. I'm not going to say Santa doesn't exist, but what I am going to say is that if you do a big army, it's never finished.
Yeah,
you'll always find a unit and think, "Oh, I fancy some of them." So don't think you're going to plan for 1,000-figure army and then stop, because you won't. You will carry.
No,
on
of course you won't. I mean, I've been rebasing. I know you don't do this, and I don't normally do it, but I've been rebasing some of my old figures for O Group.
That's the third wargaming rule. Never rebase.
I'm breaking them, smashing them. But normally I don't do it. But the reason I've done it is because they were originally based in fours. These are Soviets, Second World War Soviets, based in fours for Grey Steel Red Storm, which I played 25 years ago. Then I used them for Rapid Fire, and now I'm using them for O Group, and I've used them in Chain of Command as well. But I thought I'm going to get more out of them if I rebase them as threes and also on smaller bases. Just for footprint size. So it's not taking me long. It's like taking a couple of hours on a Saturday afternoon to do. So it's not a massive job. But the thing is, I've got so many Soviets for the Second World War that I never need to buy any more. I can play all the games I want to play with the ones I've got. But today, 30 Soviets came through the post because I wanted to do some combat patrols for O Group, and I wanted some figures. I could just use some tokens, just some 2-inch discs. But no, I want some figures on there. So, like you say, I've probably got more Soviet figures than they had in the Red Army of the Second World War. But I've still found space to put some more in. You know what I mean? It's like the ones that I'm rebasing are 25 years old, so these are figures from my youth that I'm repurposing, and I've also just got a whole load of new ones in the post today. So like you say, no matter how big your army is, it's never finished. But that said, my Napoleonic 6mm armies, both the French and the British ones, because they're based on a historical order of battle, they are finished, and I won't be adding any more French, and I won't be adding any more British, but I am adding the Prussians. So even though I've got two perfectly fitted out armies that never need touching again, I've still got another army that is going into that collection. So it's never finished, isn't it?
Exactly.
Really,
exactly. So we'll move on to Per Broden's questions. We've got 4 questions left. And couple from Per.
Make them yes or no.
Yeah, well, these more or less are. And the one from Per is: we know you love watercress, but are there any other uses we can have for our dried up wet pallets? Now, I'm going to apologise to Per. I'm going to apologise to Per because I'm not going to answer this question. And there's a very good reason for that, because I am in the process of putting together, and I don't often do YouTube videos outside of the monthly update and the podcast. I am putting together a comedy video called Uses of Wet Pallets, and I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not going to tell you how I'm going to or what I'm going to do, but coming up in the new year, I'm going to show you how to properly use a wet pallet.
I'm looking forward to the comments on that one. My answer to that is, and you'll probably like this, Ken, actually, I've actually gone back to my old plastic pallets. I've stopped using my wet pallet. I daren't open it just in case it's gone mouldy and something's growing in there. I've literally not touched it for months. They're
You
useful.
sure that Omnicrom's not started from your painting room?
It probably did. It's a new. It's not a wet market. It's a wet palette that started it off. They're useful, but I think for the way I paint, I don't know. If you're doing a big project, I think they're good because they keep the paint fresh, so you can keep going back to it. If say you're painting for a week, you can keep going back to it. But I also think as well the small amounts of Vallejo that I actually pour out every time I'm using a painting, I don't know, the hassle is probably not enough, to be honest. If I was doing lots of blending and lots of shading and stuff and different kinds of mixing and things, which I generally don't do anyway.
Do you mean lots of fucking about?
Yeah, lots of fucking about. And, I do ascribe to your school of painting, don't fuck about. And, once you've filled up the wet palette, you've got to get rid of the paint, the paper and the paint and stuff, and then mix it all and then clean it out, and it's just faff really, and I don't like faff. So yeah, mine's kind of been sat on the edge of my desk looking at me for the last few months. I think it's been a long time. After this, I'll go and open it up and see what's actually in there.
Yeah.
So you might not hear from me again.
It's when it starts talking back to you. That's when you need to worry.
Yeah, that's the problem. And it's quite a sizable thing, so it is taking up quite a chunk of my painting desk as well. So just it might get stuck underneath. It's like, well, I've been painting for over 30 years without one, and it's useful. It has its uses, but I don't know. Maybe it's not for me anymore. I'm just I'm over the flash of it has gone, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I've been painting for a long time, and without blowing my own trumpet, I think I do all right. So
certainly, definitely.
I'm not going to bother with a wet palette. So there we go.
Yeah,
but look out for that video coming up soon.
I will do.
No animals were hurt in the making of the video. There may be some
legal.
Maybe some pyrotechnics and explosions involved. But
you sure this is something you want to put on YouTube?
Well, yeah, especially now Putin's watching. Weird. Straightforward yes or no question from Per. Rosemary brushes, yes or no? Well, I'm unfamiliar with her work. Was she around the time of Sandy Shaw?
I think she was. She's something like Midsummer Murder or something.
Yeah.
My answer is going to be the third answer out of that is I don't even know what he's talking about. No idea. Don't know what they are.
Yeah,
no.
There's some. Yeah, there's some posh, fancy brushes that aren't made in Yorkshire.
Well, who cares then?
So my answer. So no pair, I'm afraid. Pro Art, made in Skipton, perfect. Hope to be visiting them next year for a podcast special.
Really?
Rosemary brush. Yeah. I'm trying to blag my way in there, bless them.
Excellent.
Yeah, so that's a no to rosemary brushes. I'm sure they're fine. Yeah. If you're not going to go Pro Art, but then what do you know anything about? Do you know anything about painting if you're not using Pro Art? That's the question.
I dare tell you, I don't use them. But
I'll get you some freebies, Alex. When I go to see him,
I'll take freebies. I'm happy for that.
Yeah.
But nothing. I'm not paying for them. But it's one of those things, isn't it? We all use these tools, and we all swear by the ones that we use, and it's strange, isn't it? But everybody gets on with whatever it is they're using.
Yeah,
but you wouldn't. I don't know. There's no point like saying to somebody, "Oh, these brushes are the best," because they're the best for you, but they might not be for somebody else. They might get a crap brush or something that time, or I swear by Windsor and Newton spray varnish, but I know there's plenty of other people who use other stuff and they swear by it. It's just what horses for courses, isn't it? At the end of the day.
There was that utter bollocks that Sean was using, wasn't there? That rat hair thing that he bought for 10 brushes for £2 or something. If it works for you, mate, it's fantastic.
Exactly. Yeah. If he gets paint on the fingers.
So last two questions, I think we've covered a little bit this one. This is from Instagram, and this is from Dom from the Plastic Crack podcast.
Hello,
I'm
Dom.
hoping to have Dom and Ken on in January on the podcast. So that's going to be
excellent,
a fun
excellent.
show.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my invite onto their podcast. There you go. There's a hint for you there, Dom.
I'll have a word. I'll have a word with them. Yeah, I'll have
if
a
you're
word with them.
listening. Otherwise, I'm not going to answer your question.
Well, to be fair, I think we already have. If you run,
I take it back. Edit that bit out, Ken.
Yeah, I will do. I will. Like those bits where I edited out for Sean. Accidentally left them in. So if you run a non-historical game, so a like historical battle, so
not Ubers or not.
Yeah, so you're not running a specific battle, but it's an historical game, which is that makes. How do you manage to balance it enough of a challenge and fun for all the players? And having chucked point systems into Wargames Room 101.
Yeah, we can't get them out again. They're right to the bottom of the bin, aren't they? Now, they're underneath the wet pallets.
Yeah,
it'd be horrible to it'd be covered in bin juice at this point. We don't want that. That's a tough one because a historical battle is by its very nature is going to be unbalanced anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you don't find two perfectly. We've said it before, do we? You don't wait until both sides are exactly 100 points and then go at it. How do you make it fun? I think this goes back to, like you said, we've answered it in the how do you do the big battles thing, in that you have give the players a specific scenario to or an objective to achieve. So even if you've got a small force, if you plant that flag on the POUM's outpost, then you've won your bit of the game. You've done your thing you're supposed to do. Or if you hold on for 10 turns, and not all of your figures have been wiped out against the overwhelming force, you've won the game. Or you can claim a victory for it. So you're just thinking outside the box, really, for that kind of stuff, I guess. Take your ideas from historical scenarios. They don't have to be you could say, well, I'm going to play Blucher, and I'm going to have the British there defending this ridge. It's not the Mont Saint Jean ridge, but it's a ridge, that they've got to hold. It doesn't have to be the actual scenario of Waterloo, but it can be based on the scenario of Waterloo. There's a farmhouse down there. We'll not call it Hougoumont, we'll call it Montahoog. And you've got to hold that, And if they hold it till the end of 10 turns, then they've won the game, or they've won a victory or minor victory or whatever. I'd say stuff like that. Really, I think just adding a bit of flavour, scenario flavour. What do you think?
I'm not going to stray far from that answer, mate. I think well planned scenarios are kind of how we game all the time anyway. So we never point game here. And if we're not doing a specific historical battle, we'll get a scenario from somewhere. So there's lots of decent books out there. The one that we use for the desert games, the Too Fat Lardy, Op Compass one. Robert Audley, I think, wrote it. That's absolutely brilliant.
Robert Avery, isn't it?
Robert Avery, that's it. And
he's got a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got some fantastic ways of making the scenario balanced with unbalanced forces. So that's a very useful way of doing it. Things like the very old now, but C.S. Grant's program war game scenario, that book.
Okay, yeah.
That's got loads of generic stuff in, and then the joy that is the internet. You can go anywhere on the internet and put stuff in. Spanish Civil War, big shout out for Steve's Balogun, the website that's been going for years and years. There's loads of scenarios on there for World War II, World War One, Spanish Civil War, with maps on and art forces, and just great games that they've played before that are there for free as a resource. So have a look around and get a good scenario is how I would go for it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you can pick scenarios from any other game, can't you? Any other game system. I mean, I like Rapid Fire, for example. I use a lot of their scenarios for things like I Am Being Shot Mum, because they're almost perfectly transferable, and they've already done the hard work in working out the forces and things. You know, you just swap one over for the other, or you might have to tweak things a little bit here and there, but they still work. They still work perfectly well for whatever game it is you're playing. Just because it's written for a specific rule set doesn't mean to say you can't play with any other rule set. So yeah, and like you say, blogs, anybody else's videos and things, even podcasts and stuff. They're just full of ideas for lots of different kind of ahistorical but semi-historical scenarios, I guess.
Yeah. So a final question, also from Instagram, from the Legends of Meadow, and this is one to end on. It's one to end the entire world on. In fact, if
build it up, why don't you?
Yeah, if there was a nuclear attack, what figures would you take down into the bunker to paint?
What would I take down into the bunker to paint? Probably the 6mm Prussians, because it's going to take me about 4 years to paint them. So at least by that time, the isotopes have probably got into some kind of half-life that I'll be able to get back out again. Back to the brave new world of nuclear winter. Yeah, I think that would be, because that would be a big project. So at least that would keep me busy for a while, I think. And I wouldn't need lots of different paints as well, because, I'd just be painting blue and grey for most of it.
Yeah. I'd probably take some figures that were made out of food.
Yeah, well, we're already assuming that you've probably got cans of food or something down in your bunker.
Ah, right, okay.
Well, what are you going to do? Spend the time where you're supposed to be painting your windows white and boarding all the house up, and you're going to be carving figures out of some spuds or something just in case to take them down. Is that really a good way of spending your final few moments before obliteration of the above world?
Well, I think we need to change these resin printers into like a potato style printer. Potato carver, and then freeze dry them, and then you could paint them with like food colorings, because that's basically what contrast paints are at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and then if you don't get the all clear sign when you run out of food, you can start eating the figures.
Yeah, I suppose that's definitely one way of thinking about it. You got to think about what's gonna what will sustain you, and it can't just be painting, can it, all the time by candlelight, because you probably go blind anyway, won't you? After about the third or fourth year of doing it. So yeah, you got to have other avenues there. Well, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah. But the positive thing to that is that if your painting is crap, there'll be nobody on TMP to have a go at it, because they'll all be...
Now, to be honest, TMP will probably still be going.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll probably still be arguing about who's got the biggest nukes, I would have thought.
Who fired first? Who fired first?
Yeah, which one did the most devastation?
Well, it's been a fantastic time chatting with you again, Alex. It's been an interesting 2021, and we got to meet up in real life a couple of times. I'm sure we will next year as well. So I'd like to wish everyone who listens to this a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you on the other side. So say good night, Alex.
Thank you very much, Ken. Thanks for having me on again. It's been a pleasure as always. Sean, we missed you. Not that much, but we missed you. Like I said, thanks, Ken, and thanks everyone for listening. And a happy Christmas and a Merry New Year to everybody. And let's roll on and have a good 2022, I think.
Brilliant. And I'll try and organise a summer brews in the Binyard with all three of us in June or July. So thanks very much, everyone. See you soon.
Hi, Hi, it's Colin Ashton from episode 4 of Yarkshire Gamers Rate Big War Games podcast, which for you, Ken, was delivered in a comedy Yorkshire accent. Not a very good one. Well, everyone here at Carryings On Up the Dale, which is essentially just me and thousands of my little men, wish everybody a fabulous Christmas. I hope it's a very special one, and let's hope that 2022 is a peaceful and prosperous one for all of us, and that we can get back to some proper big wargaming. So I shall leave you with that thought in mind and sign off. Thanks, bye.
In true Brews in the Binyard special, this has been a extended episode. We're up to 2 hours 40 minutes nearly, and if you're still with us now, I hope you are. We've had a really good fun time recording this episode, and I particularly want to thank all the former guests who've sent in Christmas messages for you all, and I hope you've enjoyed them. The ones who haven't, most of them had problems with technology, etc., and didn't really know how to send the messages in, which was fine by me. So many of the former guests sent messages in, and that was lovely to hear, and I hope you enjoyed them. My thanks also to Alex, my guest on this show, one of the regular Brews in the Binyard occupants on the seats, if I like to say, in our little Binyard outside our terraced house in Leeds. Fortunately, Sean couldn't make it tonight. It was a real shame, and I really hope he can do the summer special that I'm going to do in June or July that we talked about at the end of the episode. 2021 has been a fantastic year for Yorkshire Gamer and the podcast, which started back in February. And I really want to thank you, everyone out there who's listening to this, who's listened to previous episodes. It's been a fantastic journey, and I'm glad to have you all along. I said in the interview or in the chat with Alex how amazed I was at the number of people who are listening to this and the positive reaction that it's received. So a special thanks from me to all of you, and I personally want to wish you all a Merry Christmas. I want you to have a fantastic New Year, and if you've thought about big gaming and you've not done it before, then have a go. What is there to lose? And if you haven't got the space or the time, then pop along to one of the War Games holiday centres or join a club and try and get a big game experience somewhere. It is a fantastic way to take part in this hobby. As I spoke about in the last episode, the future for Yorkshire Gamer podcast is still rosy. I am, however, going to change the publishing schedule, and I'm going to go to the 2nd and 5th weeks of the month, which means there won't be always 2 podcasts every month. I did find that doing the 2nd and 4th, 2 every month, it was quite difficult, although enjoyable. Things like organising guests and getting interviews done and sorting out the editing can be quite time consuming, and as you all know, I didn't manage to get one in at the start of this month, so I think a 2nd and 5th is more of a reasonable schedule for me with work, etc. And I've already got guests booked in for January. Very excited. I'm going to be speaking to Dom and Ken from the Plastic Crack podcast, which is essential viewing on a YouTube on a Monday night, so I'm looking forward to speaking to those guys. And I've got guests penciled in for February and March, and then, as I've said before, I must have 30 odd people who I've spoken to or had email conversations about coming on the show. So I do apologise to all of you who are waiting. With this new schedule, it's going to mean 7 or 8 less episodes a year, but I will get around to everyone, and I'm sure more people will come on board and become guests as time goes by. So we are here to stay. Hopefully we will get a nomination in the Caesar's Little Wars TV awards, and in which case we do, I'll be begging you to vote for me. And once again, I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Until 2022, Siddy.